as we will have Brendan Sedone, who earlier in the week, yesterday, did kind of show out that reported lightly, had a crystal ball of Nico Iamaleava to North Carolina. Off to a great start here today.
Heck yeah. Rip.
That's going to change a little bit, though, but still, he'll talk Florida State with us. Transfer portal opening, tomorrow? And the names are just flooding in of not who's in, but who's going to be in, who's going to go. So we'll have him at 7:20 today. Gordy Rush will talk LSU spring activities at 8. Jake Rowe will talk Georgia spring activities at 9. Tyler Watts was in Tuscaloosa. He'll talk Bama spring activities at 9:15, 9:20. And then we'll just kind of get to some guys that were there that got to see those teams, give us a little better idea of what they looked like, what they were doing, and how they reacted to things. So you and I, Greg, not able to see as much as we normally would. Normally we'd be rewinding, going back, watching some of these spring games just to look at a guy or two to see if he thought he was going to make a difference, and not really able to do a lot of that this year.
No, it really strange. Kind of feeling that weird urge to turn on the TV and have some football on, just kind of in the background. It just hasn't materialized. Like I usually have the spring games rolling all throughout April and May. Just nonstop, one after another, and just not having them. It's been odd, but it is kind of a sign of the times. It is what it is, and it's unfortunate, but I understand why these coaches have decided not to do it. Kinda.
And that is?
Scared.
Of getting guys hurt, guys leaving?
Who knows? I honestly think the guys just don't want to play. Maybe that's just being too pessimistic.
What are they? What they're gonna? They just want to practice instead. There's no different in practice. I'd rather play a spring game than practice.
But when you get paid to play, and all of a sudden you're expected to play for quote free, it's hard.
I don't understand what's so hard about it. You play football. That's what you do.
Well, answer me this: how many starters like playing reps in the preseason in the NFL?
Not many.
Not many. Not many, if any.
A lot of those guys, though, have been on those teams inside that franchise for multiple years.
A lot of these guys think that they're better than the guys on those franchises.
That's also fair.
I'm not saying it's a logical thought. I'm just saying I don't think the guys want to play.
Okay. We will talk a little bit
contract for 12 games.
Well, and it looks like now that South Alabama quarterback Gio Lopez is going to be the target of North Carolina. So Nico Iamaleava not going to end up there. We'll talk a little more, Nico. You have an interesting thought on where Nico Iamaleava may or may not end up. And we'll get to that a little bit later this hour. I want to switch gears, though. We finally got to hear from some Alabama coaches post-spring yesterday. And offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, who's new in town, as most of you know, we've discussed him on the show multiple times, had this to say about where the quarterback competition is in Tuscaloosa.
At the end of the day, if we're playing a football game tomorrow, Ty Simpson would start, and he earned that. Okay, and I know that's the line everybody's looking for, but that is what he earned. Austin Mack made huge strides. Also, available reps were the same, and he did a really good job. He came out and developed. Just was some of the nuances and take care of the football and things like that. Thought Ty showed out a little bit better. And then, honestly, Keelan exceeded my expectations. I think for a young man his age, he never gave into that opportunity. We challenged him with that. Don't give into, I'm a freshman and this and that. And he didn't. He reminds me, I say this all the time to him, and I mean it as the biggest compliment. He reminds me so much of Michael Penix, just in his demeanor. He has such a calm demeanor. Sometimes, you need to find the other edge of that and put a little bit of rush on it. But he did a great job, and he had a couple days at the end that, he wished he'd played a little bit better. But, man, I thought he made huge strides.
Oh, boy. Let the hype begin, Greg.
I thought I was getting ripped for saying exactly what he said like 2 weeks ago.
You were.
Imagine that.
Looks like Mike Penix improved the most in spring. So get ready for that hype train. Sounds like it's coming.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what was said there. The guy's got the most talent. I literally don't think there's any question about that. The guy's got unbelievable arm talent. Is very well liked by the staff. Was handpicked by the staff, and made a huge priority on the staff. So I'm not sure why this is such earth-shattering, groundbreaking news. Like what was learned by that commentary?
I don't think it's news. I just think people want, you've said this before, people want to believe that the high-profile recruit, the high-profile athlete is just going to be next and be next up. So they'll root for it, even though he may not be the best guy for the job at that time. And when that's the case, then you take things like that and you say, oh, okay, well, then he is going to be the guy. I want him to be the guy. So you take that information, you utilize it, and make yourself believe that he's going to win the job. But you're right. I mean, he's a big physical kid with a massive arm, played high-level high school football in Texas, a track star, legit track guy in Texas. So there's a lot of things to like, but managing an offense versus live SEC defenses is something that's going to be difficult. Back to what he said about Ty Simpson, though. And is that something that gives you more confidence, more comfort of hearing Ryan Grubb come out and say that, especially saying, hey, that's what y'all are looking for, so here it is?
Hopefully it gives him confidence. I could care less how it affects me. Me, it doesn't have any impact on. The fan, Johnny Fan, doesn't affect him. Doesn't affect Cole Cubelic or John Saber. Doesn't matter. The only person that should affect from a confidence standpoint is Ty Simpson. That, hey, you performed the best in the spring. It's your job to lose. It's been your job to lose. Now go out there and secure hold of it. I mean, if you want to be the starter, go take it. Like, quit messing around. Quit twiddling your thumbs. Go take it. Like, when I was up for a quarterback competition, Star Jackson never got a single number one rep. Why? Because on day one, I went out there and took it. Day two, took it. Took it again on day three. And then when AJ arrived, he didn't even get a number two rep because guess what? Star took it. Like, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was, to me, like, you go out and take it. You don't open the door to extend this competition. I understand there's going to be some aspects of the court of public opinion that you got to kind of maneuver through because of the transfer portal, but like, go out and take it. I think that's the key for Ty. Believe you can do it, and go out and do it. Simple as that.
Yeah. So the Alabama quarterback situation looks like it is at least calming down a bit. But of course, it will go through the fall and there will be more opportunities there. But now you solidify, for the most part, who your guy is going into the summer. And a lot can happen in the summer, Greg. And you want your quarterback to go out there with that confidence that you just stated, because now they can essentially go practice during the summer. And you want him to be able to lead that the way that you know that he can, and then continue to let him solidify himself as your starting quarterback.
Well, and I also think, too, when you look at the quarterback situation, I get why, if you have a guy that has as much of an upside as Keelan Russell, I understand why people are going to be enamored with that. Okay, I get that. But hear me out when I say this. If you want Keelan to be your starting quarterback, you need to lower your expectations on what the team can accomplish this year. If you want the team to go win a national championship, in all likelihood, and I'm not saying that Keelan can't be the anomaly here. He could. There's always the anomaly. Trevor Lawrence was the anomaly. Holloway in 1985 was the anomaly. But guess what? There's 40 more years that you have to account for in which a true freshman starting quarterback did not win a national championship. So if you want to go with the law of averages, there's a whole lot more redshirt juniors, redshirt sophomores, true juniors, true seniors that went on to win a championship in the starting quarterback spot. So just based on the law of averages, if you want your team being Alabama, to win a national championship this year, you probably don't need to be rooting for the true freshman to win the starting job. You can root for the true freshman to have a role. Like in 2006, when Chris Leak was the starting quarterback and Tim Tebow had a role. You can root for that.
Yeah.
Got no problem with that whatsoever. But I think expecting Keelan to be the starting quarterback day one is probably not in the best interest of the team's full expectations of trying to compete for a title.
Well, expecting the weather to be the same here in Alabama this time of year would also be a mistake. Spring weather in Alabama is unpredictable. Felt like it was 100 yesterday, only going to be in the 60s today. You need the reliability of a Trane. Voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. Right now, you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. Find out more at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a Trane. So The Alabama quarterback situation, we have a pretty decent feel on heading into the summer. We'll talk to Tyler Watts about it today at 9:20 to see what he saw. I think more value will be the conversations he was able to have during Alabama's open spring practice that he attended and they broadcast on Saturday. We'll get his thoughts on it, but more on Nico Iamaleava and Florida State, who will be Alabama's first opponent this fall. Something that we've kind of forgotten about a little bit, something that hasn't really been a part that we've discussed. Brendan Sonnone covers Florida State, and he will join us on the other side to discuss Nico and Alabama's opening opponent this fall, right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We mentioned that temperature and what it's going to be. 68 your high today. I think it was 88 yesterday. Said it was only going to be 84, but it was 100 in the GMC Sierra from Royal Buick GMC when I hopped in it yesterday. Just a scorcher, it felt like. Either way, Greg, with the weather the way it is, you're going to need to know about Polar Bear Services.
Yeah, Polar Bear Service will get your system ready for the hot months to come. It's kind of cold this morning a little bit. Might have had the heat running last night. I don't know if you did, but I know we did. It was chilly in the house for sure. So our system is getting worked on both sides. You need the heat on one side. That's at night. You need the AC running during the day. That's putting your system to the test. Good news is for me at Polar Bear Service, I've called Weston, the guys. They're coming out have already done a system tune-up, have already prepared the system for the summer months to come. So I know that when it's 102 outside and it might be there sooner than later, I know my system will be prepared. It won't shut down, won't have any problems. My home will still be cool and comfortable thanks to my friends at Polar Bear Services. Highly recommend you give them a shout for that. They also can do great work on your plumbing. They also can do great work on your electrical, including the installation of a whole home generator, which are great here in the stormy months that we have here in the early spring. So remember, if you have a problem with your heat, air, electrical, or plumbing, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR.
So it was reported initially, Greg, that Nico Iamaleava, he received a crystal ball from Brendan Sonnone, who's going to join us here in just a moment. I think he has shifted that over with the Gio Lopez news that he's going to go in the portal from South Alabama now. You and I talked about it yesterday that we just didn't kind of feel like that was going to be a fit for Nico to end up at North Carolina. And that's becoming something that's increasingly more difficult to find. And that is a fit for Nico Iamaleava somewhere with everything that's happening with this. Maybe it needs a little more time to just cool down. We get a couple other big names in the portal and it could change some people's thought processes. But what do you see right now? What do you think right now? It doesn't feel like we're not hearing about a lot of suitors. We're not hearing about a lot of people that are immediately in the running for Nico Iamaleava services.
Well, if you bring him in, what is that inviting? The willingness to renegotiate, an endorsement of a guy that has been constantly going back to the table. So what does that do for your locker room? I mean, I think you got to acknowledge that. Like with Nico comes baggage. And that's unfortunate for the kid because I don't think it's the kid's doing. I think it has everything to do with the people around the kid, his team. And that's unfortunate. So I think a lot of coaches are unless they're in, if I were to bet, Nico's going to end up in a place where the coach is on the hot seat. Or you got nothing to lose.
Would a coach on the hot seat be able to help get that much money, though, out of their collective?
Maybe not, but I could see, unless you have literally nothing to lose, I could also see Nico going to a place like Purdue. You know what I mean? Where it's like, we'll roll the dice on him. Here we are, Barry Odom first year, off a 2-10 or a 1-11, whatever they were last year. Like we'll try it out. I can see that happening, but that's my bet. Is he ends up at a place where the coach has to win, or he jumpstarts the program.
And we'll see exactly where that goes as we also go now to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in Brendan Sonnone from 24/7 Sports, covers Florida State, but did have some information on a possibility that Nico Iamaleava could end up at North Carolina yesterday. Brendan, I know you've sort of shifted this now, but it felt like it was tough to believe mainly just because of the Belichick factors, thinking about everything that we had heard about Nico in Knoxville and then what we know Belichick to be. Would you take that more of a sign that Belichick is maybe loosening up a little bit, having a better understanding of the kind of guys he's going to have to go get, or was that just quarterback desperation possibility out of Chapel Hill?
The main reason why one was just calling my shot, just for a little bit of fun. I knew they were in the quarterback market. I was really confident in that, and they were going to be aggressive. And I do believe that both sides did talk, so they were interested. Apparently, the whole deal just came down to price, as far as I understand it, and that Nico's camp wasn't willing to come down from their price tag. So there's been some other reporting out there on that. So I do think that there was for sure a need, and now it looks like they're going after Gio Lopez from South Alabama, who entered the portal yesterday, who's actually a really nice G5 quarterback. So, I do think that one thing that with like Belichick that is super interesting to me is his quarterback acumen. Like, yes, we know who he had in New England for the duration of his time there, for the majority of it. But like, he was always willing to invest pretty high-end draft picks in other quarterbacks to develop them and see what you had. And then obviously when the time came to move on from Tom Brady, like they wouldn't spend first round pick on Mac Jones. So he's not someone who's afraid to invest heavily in the quarterback position and spend some resources on it. This one just sounded like it was a little bit too rich, and who knows? I don't have insight on it, but maybe not a great culture fit too. That would maybe make sense too, if that they got turned off by some of that as well.
What do you think is the money obviously is prohibitive for some programs for sure. Like if he's unwilling to take fair market value, then so be it. But I can't imagine personally, you cover Florida State. Like, I know Mike Norvell. I don't think he's taking a chance on a situation like this. Even if they didn't have a guy, I don't think they'd take this situation on. Knowing how poisonous and toxic that locker room has been at times in the last handful of years. Do you think his team and how involved they are, that could be problematic for his recruitment?
Yeah, I would imagine so. And it's funny, just like if we're going like big picture and talking to some, as I was talking to someone at Florida State the other day about the idea of like transfer quarterbacks and like how important it is to get it right. And we saw last year they didn't get it right. And DJ Ungole was not a bad person by any means, but from a fit standpoint, once the offensive line couldn't block the way they thought it would, the whole dynamic shifted of what they were building schematically around him. But just from a personality standpoint, very reserved, very quiet for a team that lacked leadership on the defensive side of the ball. And then once there wasn't that on offense, it's the reason why they're excited about Tommy Castellanos, right? Is that he has a personality to him that is more gravitating towards current players, and whether that works out or not, we'll see. But there is that element there that they do indeed like, and I know Tommy has a track record with Boston College where he left early, but apparently that was more complicated than it was than what was shown publicly on that. But in terms of like Nico and the way quarterbacks are evolved, like from a holistic big pictures perspective, yeah, like the transfer quarterback market, you have to get it right. And if it's someone who isn't going to be able, and especially if this is someone coming in with just a couple months to kind of ingratiate themselves to a new roster, a new locker room, you have to get that right. And if there's a lot of baggage with it, if there's a bad perception, I could see a lot of teams that aren't desperate but would maybe like to bolster the quarterback position kind of being turned off by it. He's probably going to have to end up going to a place that is very desperate, that either have like an injury or something of that magnitude, or just did not like what they saw from their quarterbacks this spring.
Brendan Sonnone works for 24/7, covers Florida State. Did have some information on Nico Iamaleava yesterday that has shifted just a little bit. So let's focus on FSU. Their spring will wrap up Saturday. New offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn at the helm, which I thought was a super interesting hire. And I know that Norvell and Gus work together, but their offenses recently have not been super similar. How do you believe the offense is going to look? Is it going to be 95% Gus, what we've seen recently? Is it going to be a little bit more Norvell with Gus having maybe just a couple of his fingerprints on it? What are your expectations for the offense in Tallahassee this fall? So
this is Gus's offense, as far as I understand it, and that's from some of the things they've said publicly. It's from talking to some sources. Like, he has full control of play call, and obviously Mike Norvell will have input in what the scheme will look like to an extent, but it's Gus Malzahn's fingerprints. And we've heard from a lot of people like that the jet motion game that Gus Malzahn is really well known for has been pretty prominent in practice. So it does look different than it has at any point under the Mike Norvell tenure. And you're right. They're not, Mike Norvell's offense was kind of, some of the terminology was based in things that Gus Malzahn and him did together back in 2007. Yeah. Back at Tulsa, going back quite a ways. But obviously Mike's offense had evolved to more kind of pro style elements to an extent. From there, whereas Gus's has kind of maintained that old, option, modernized offense. So yeah, it's very much so a Gus Malzahn offense. It's a dynamic that I was interested in kind of see play out. So far, so good. I think Mike Norvell has kind of accepted that this was a change. It sounds like it's working well so far. It's something I'm going to be interested to monitor throughout the course of the season. But so far, so good, and as they kind of transition and balance, a new hat for both of those guys.
I love Mike Norvell. I think he's a great coach. But I am curious where Florida State fans are with him. He's had some really high highs and some really low lows. It's been strange for a guy that's that good. I think he's that good. To have a year like he had 2 years ago, and then immediately follow it with a year that was so disastrous, the point where it was like, unrecognizable. I understand, look, you got a couple issues, you got a couple quarterback problems, but my goodness alive, like that was disastrous. So how do Florida State fans kind of view the current state of the program right now with where Mike Norvell has it heading?
Oh yeah, there's some trepidation from the fan base. I think that's pretty fair to say. A lot of wait and see for the 2025 season. I know when we write something, it's always met very very frequently in the comment section with, I want to see it on the field, and I totally understand. I think I'm more or less at the same mindset at this point too. I am curious, to get your guys' thoughts. I think FSU was an extreme version of it, but I do think this is kind of what college football is going to become for the most part, outside of maybe a couple of programs in the transfer portal / NIL era of just these highs and lows, extremes from year to year, because the rosters turn and burn. Do you think this is going to be more common? Not from 13 wins to 2 wins, but maybe from 13 wins to 7 wins, 6 wins, and then maybe rebound again, kind of seasons.
I don't think anybody would be really surprised with that, Brendan, if that's where we head and that's where kind of things end up based on all the different movement. The quarterback situation, we know Thomas Castellanos from Boston College is heading down to Florida State. Trevor Jackson hits the portal yesterday. Outside of Castellanos, I just want to, if it's the old school Gus offense, he feels like a great fit. Just kind of how that's all going from the quarterback situation. And then if it's Castellanos definitively at 1, how does it look after him?
Yeah, I agree. I think on paper, it makes a lot of sense. There's going to be a run heavy element to it, a lot of, option stuff and even just some quick passes mixed with a lot of downfield stuff. And those are things that Tommy Castellanos does well. So it does make a lot of sense on paper. FSU doesn't let its quarterbacks get hit in the spring. And so they whistle a lot of plays dead. We were there for one scrimmage. There was times where Tommy was frustrated that he would escape, pressure and get to turn up field. And maybe a defender would get a finger on him or something like that and they blow it dead. So you don't get a full idea of what his, impact is in a, yardage standpoint, through the course of practices in the spring. But they like how he's handled things. He's had some ups and downs with accuracy this spring. I think that's just going to be kind of who he is personally. But in terms of keeping the ball safe, of making the right choices, I think that's another area of a transfer quarterback going back to the Nico big picture. It's you have to get someone who fits, who understands the offense and is able to learn it pretty quickly. Remember, those two worked together, Gus and Tommy, when Tommy was a freshman. So he comes in with some baseline of understanding of terminology, what Gus is going to want, operating with the tempo, like he's played in games under Gus Malzahn. I think that's valuable. The Trevor Jackson transfer, I know he was rated as a pretty high recruit. He was a walk-on. He was, a really good, valuable walk-on and scout team quarterback for Florida State, but I don't think he was viewed at anything more than that. That's one of those names that the fan base got more infatuated with than probably what the coaching staff was. They have Brock Glenn as a backup quarterback. He was described to me as just a really solid backup. I think he can get you in and out of a game if need be, whether, he's able to carry the offense for games at a time, I think is kind of TBD. But the real exciting name that's kind of come out of camp has been Kevin Sperry. He's a true freshman quarterback. Was not super highly ranked. He'd been committed to Oklahoma for a while. Kind of both sides parted ways late in the process. Apparently he has the best arm on the team. He's super athletic, closer to Tommy Castellanos' athleticism than Brock Glenn, and Brock Glenn's a decent athlete in his own right. That's been a name that's been kind of surprising of like he was described to me by sources having legitimately the best arm on the roster. So I don't know how much of that is just new car smell, but they're really excited about him and what he can be a year or two down the road.
We'll see. Brendan, great stuff today, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. Appreciate the time and look forward to catch up with you again soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Brendan Sonnone covers Florida State for 24/7 Sports, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. That will be Alabama's first opponent, Greg, and I think that's something that if Florida State doesn't have the year that they had last year, maybe we have spent more time talking about, but it'll be a very different team. They've got probably 3 transfers that'll start on the offensive line. Deuce Robinson comes in at receiver. Thomas Castellanos will be there at quarterback. We saw him operate at Boston College a little bit the last few years, what he's capable of doing. You'll have 3, 4, maybe 5 starters out of the portal just on your front seven defensively. It's
Deuce
tough.
Robinson, by the way, is a dude. Like, dude. He's really good.
Yeah.
So if he ever hits his potential, he's from SC. He's like 6'6". He's huge.
220. Yeah, big. And
Big boy.
they've used that type receiver before.
Yeah, they have.
Had him
With
a couple
success.
years ago. So it's Johnny Wilson kind of was that guy for Florida State. So they understand how to utilize it. It's just tough to sit here and say what we think they're going to be because there's so many different parts. And some of the parts, like Castellanos, when he plays well in the right system, like he can move.
Oh,
he
gosh,
can go. He can do a lot of good things. But he also quit on his football team last year. So
is that a problem?
it's not something that I
Is that frowned upon?
It's not one of the traits that I initially go after guys for, but that is a real thing with him. And so just don't know what it's going to look like. But Kalen DeBoer's team will get Florida State right out of the gate, and we'll see how that goes.
I would not be a team I like playing week 1.
Especially with a Gus. I know Brendan told us it's Gus's system, but with a Gus Norvell sort of mix, like if Norvell can shove his passing game into some of the Gus run stuff, which, I mean, he carries some quarterback runs too, but
yeah,
a lot of gap scheme runs that can get you misaligned, a lot of formations that utilize tight ends and tackles over, like creating extra gaps that then all of a sudden you don't know where the puller is going to end up or who's blocking back. It could be nightmarish, like you're saying, for week 1.
You're chasing a lot of ghosts as a coaching staff. You know what I mean? I mean, it's easy to dive in and try to figure out, how will Alabama attack me this year? Well, cool. I'll just go back and look at last year's tape. Granted, different personnel, but when you have a complete overhaul amongst your offensive staff and defensive staff, and the entire roster has been overhauled as well, you don't know who does what well. You don't know how they're going to attack you. So you got to think about how many games you're going to have to watch. I remember this talking to TCU, talking to Sonny Dykes 2 years ago. Sonny Dykes drew the unfortunate short straw of having to play against Colorado week 1. Remember, they had come off a national championship appearance the year before, and Sonny Dykes lost brought in Kendall Briles, actually, ironically, but lost Garrett Riley. But other than that, it was pretty much the same staff. And in order to prepare for that Colorado game, they had to watch 90 different tapes, including like 20 from Jackson State, including guys from other places to figure out, all right, who does what well. They had 50 different transfers that they had to study. Remember? I mean, it was like insane. So 90 different tapes. It's a tough spot to be in. And I think Alabama might be in a similar spot this upcoming season when evaluating Florida State for week 1.
It's a lot. It is absolutely a lot. So we will continue discussing it. Where could Nico Iamaleava end up next? We will discuss that on the other side on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys listening. Nico Iamaleava, what's next? So North Carolina felt like it was potentially on deck, and then that was taken back, and now it looks like Gio Lopez, former South Alabama quarterback, will be the focal point for them there. Are there any more teams that you feel like make any sense, or any teams that you've heard that you looked at and said, okay, I could see that. That's one that I might put ahead of some of the others as far as potentially being a landing spot for Nico Iamaleava?
Yeah, I know the answer. I know the question.
Landing spot for Nico Iamaleava is what we're gunning for here.
Gotcha. Here's a place that I would think would make sense if they hadn't gone to the well last year. Would be like a place like NC State. You know what I mean? I know Dave Doran don't play.
Yeah,
Dave
he's
Doran
the
don't
one that
play
told
that.
his quarterback, "No, thank you. You can just leave now.
You can walk." Correct. He doesn't play that, but like I'm talking system fit, trying to kind of jumpstart an offense. Can maybe take a team from good to great, maybe. Who knows? And let's be real. We've said this already, and this is an unpopular opinion amongst the recruiting experts. Nico is not as good as people want him to be. Like, if his name was John Doe,
Can he be, though?
The ceiling is there. Sure.
I think that's what a lot of people are getting excited about.
The ceiling is there. But ceiling ain't nothing. If you can't play.
Well, the ceiling is the roof, right?
Ceiling is the roof. That's only in Chapel Hill, and they're out.
Okay, so the ceiling may be the floor. We don't know.
The ceiling is extremely appealing, but you also must acknowledge at the same time that while the ceiling is high, he has a lot of misses.
There's a lot of furniture in that living room that you got to walk around at night with the lights off, potentially stubbing your toe. That's the best I got as far as an analogy there of having to deal with the family too. How else would you say it? I don't know. You give it a shot.
I mean, I love the analogy.
The ceiling is high, but
you don't
the
have
walls
lights.
are thin.
And yes. So the ceiling is high. There's tons of volume. It's a beautiful room. But at the same time, you have filled it with really, really, really inexpensive furniture.
The plumbing is terrible.
I don't know.
I just don't know who of these teams. Like, I saw some folks throwing out Tulane yesterday.
I could see Tulane, but how are they going to come up with the funds?
John Summerall. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't. I know Summerall told specific guys that people were surprised. I'm not going to say any names. Specific guys that left Tulane last year that people were like, oh, wow, oh. That he said, okay, no, good. Go ahead and go.
Bye.
We'll be fine. Don't have to have you. We're good. So he doesn't seem like, I almost put him in the camp of Marcus Freeman, where John Summerall ain't doing that.
No.
The dad's not calling Summerall 3-4 times a week to ask about, how many times they're going to throw the ball.
Also,
are they going to
Tulane.
protect his son? There's another thing that I was not aware of, that I was made aware of yesterday, Greg, is that the father apparently was very upset at how many times they asked Nico to run the football and had voiced that.
Heck yeah.
You start stepping in on my play calling, man. Like that's where, the line's probably drawn for most guys way ahead of that.
Did you realize that Nico was running the football on his own accord? Like, there were not like a ton of designed runs.
But there were some in
Not
certain
many.
games, and that's where apparently, allegedly, I was told the dad voiced his frustrations of, we didn't come here to run the football. Essentially wanting his son protected a little bit more, which, you never want your kid taking hits if they don't have to.
Of course
but
not.
You know how sometimes you got to win the game? The quarterback's got to pull the ball and run it.
You do have to win the game. That is the goal for some.
Based on coverages and certain things happening within games, sometimes you take, what's the old adage that I think we've all heard just a few times? Take what the defense gives you?
Yeah. There also used to be the old adage is whatever it takes.
Well, that's just ridiculous.
Which is why I'm warming to Georgia so much. Like, I am warming big to Georgia right now.
For Nico?
No. Because Gunnar Stockton will die on the field.
I honestly, for a moment, thought you were saying
that would be
to open the door for Nico to go. I said,
no, but
we are the ultimate game of Assassin's Creed here. Then yes, we are on level 8.
What about Kentucky? Just saying. Not at $4 million.
Let me say this, though. If they really needed to, they could find the money. I don't know if you want to invite an immediate quarterback controversy, because I could see Zach Calzada's improvement actually pushing Nico no matter how it went, whether Nico was way ahead or way behind, and that all of a sudden becomes problematic for your team.
Yeah.
But even though Mark Stoops is no nonsense, no BS, he has managed things like that extremely well in Lexington.
Yeah.
Like, he understands how to just kind of stiff arm it and say, figure it out. But we're going to do what the team needs to do. Like, he has had a lot of stuff happen that he's been able to sort of offset, I guess I'll say. So I could actually see him managing it. But
if Auburn didn't have Nico,
didn't have Jackson
Auburn
Arnold,
didn't have Jackson Arnold, they'd be in the mix. I
don't think Hugh cares. Yeah. I mean, Hugh's got a little bit of that all shucks to him, where if the dad calls, yeah, man, this is what we got to try to do. Okay. Are we going to throw it 10 more times? Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. 17 quarterback runs the next game.
Yeah.
That's what the defense gave us.
Hey.
Sorry. I think he could sweet talk him a little bit, and he could make it where he thought it could work. Now, what actually happens once you get there? That's going to be the hard part, Greg, is when he lands somewhere and everything seems like it's going well, and then the first game, he pulls 3 zone reads, and all of a sudden the coach leaves the stadium after a 17-14 win, and he's got text from the dad upset that the kid's running the ball and taking hits.
Yep.
And the DN was screaming down the line of scrimmage every time to take away the inside zone. Well, buddy, that's what they gave us.
Hey.
I apologize, but this is where we are. This is where the offense is. This is what we got to do. That's where I think this is going to become, and that's the unknown. You don't know when the dad's going to show up. You don't know when the hanger-oners are going to be there and want questions answered and want to have conversations about other things. And then you got to come up to the facility at 8 a.m. on a Sunday to talk about stuff that shouldn't be discussed. That's where it's going to get difficult.
I would agree. But at the same time, all this being said, flushing it all out, he still has talent. It's just, there's that old, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but you have a guy with talent and how much you're willing to put up with. All right. There's a scale. All right. On one axis is how talented you are. On the other axis is how much are you willing to put up with. You can use that scale in a lot of different ways. There've been
Correct,
a lot. Yes. And there's usually like a straight line in between.
Okay.
Well, his talent is very, very high, but what comes with that talent is also very, very high. So what side of the line do you fall on? Everyone's seen the scale. Now, there's been different interpretations of that scale, but I think that's the big question. It's a big old y-axis and an x-axis. Which one are you trying to figure out? And I personally think that Nico is probably worth it, but it's very much dependent on my situation as a coach and my situation within the locker room. If we don't have a quarterback, then we might have to consider it. If we are desperate because if I don't win, I'm getting fired, we might need to consider it. If we just got hired and I have 5 years left of my deal and let's rip, might need to consider it. Like those are things to think about. I think it's going to be very much up to the situation that the coach is in. And I think it's going to depend on if he's trying to jumpstart the program and or if he's in job security issues. That would be my guess.
A couple of things coming in via Twitter. Brian Beard shares a No 3 Sports tweet, which not on 3, but No 3. I think we're going to avoid that one on the show. And AC's dad tweets saying can't transfer within the conference post-spring.
Unless you're a graduate. He's not a graduate, I don't think, is he? I don't know.
Well, the two things that I would say to that is, one, we're talking potential landing spots, not where he will be playing football this fall. Because I think with the way this thing's headed right now, all things should be on the table, which may include a sit-out or redshirt year. The other thing is someone's going to do it at some point in time, and they're going to sue, and they're probably going to get away with it. Say what you want about it, but it's going to happen. Somebody's going to say, hold on, I can't go from here to here. Okay, cool. We'll go to court over it.
But this
And
was also
have to give.
This was also kind of like one of those significant moments amongst coaches in which I believe that Josh Heupel just earned a tremendous amount of goodwill amongst his peers. I mean, I think everyone that coaches and deals with this on a regular basis just did an air high five with Josh Heupel on Zoom. Like you would imagine, you know what those text message conversations were probably looking like? Those group message conversations were probably looking like last week. And look, not everybody likes Josh Heupel. You know, not everybody's friends with him. A lot of people don't like him, I'm sure. I mean, that's the world of coaching. But I would imagine most people are on his side here.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I would have an SEC school on my list anyway of potential landing spots. I think the only one, if that were off the table, that I may even say would be feasible, possible, would be Mississippi State. And
jumpstart the program.
You go find the money, you get a big name in, that's going to bring some receivers in. Yeah, you got to deal with a lot, but you upgrade the talent at that position. And I know they have a couple of youngsters they like. Is he better than Blake
Shapen?
Not yet.
I don't know if he's better than Blake Shapen.
Has been healthier than Blake Shapen.
That's accurate. The 12 games he's played.
Then, even that one, when I really kind of put my brain to it, I don't see Jeff Lebby doing that.
More than A&M?
You think Elko wants that?
No, I don't, but I think Elko would jumpstart the program for a year. And he kind of fits what Colin Klein wants to do.
Well, by the way, I don't know what Colin Klein wants to do because I saw them be very different in multiple games. So I'm not 100% sure.
He's learning the league.
Do you want to be air raid against Auburn or do you want to be ground and pound?
He's learning the league. He's learning the league. Come on, man. Come on. Learning the league.
Okay. You say jumpstart the program, though. What if, are you jumpstarting the program if you come in and go 19-5 again?
Well, if you go in and the problem with Nico is there is a possibility where it's a 1 step forward situation and 3 steps back. That is a real possibility. There's also a possibility where you're 3 steps forward and don't have to deal with any of the headaches because everything goes great.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I've walked out on the limb of we have to stop saying that this kid doesn't have talent because you're upset about what he and his family did, the decision that they made handling things in what we all believe is an incorrect manner. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a ton of ability. He does.
His talent level's amazing.
So you got to get it out, and you're going to probably have to withstand a tsunami of other stuff that's going to come with it.
Yeah, including having to renegotiate with your own players.
Yeah.
Which is the least desirable aspect of this whole conversation.
So we just don't know exactly what that's going to look like, and we don't know where it's going to end up. There doesn't seem to be a lot of places that are just sort of layups as to, that feels like it would work. If you're a little bit concerned about how your retirement may work and you're less than 10 years away from it, I'd like to introduce you to our friend and wealth advisor, Tad Hill, your trusted retirement planning partner. Tad is the co-host of the Retire with Freedom radio and TV shows in Birmingham and Huntsville, has also been designated by Forbes as the #1 financial securities professional in the state of Alabama multiple years running. Tad, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Cole. What I'd like to do today is talk about something that none of us really like to think about, which is market volatility. And particularly as you near retirement, it's very important that you're not overexposed to risk with too much of your investment money, because for most of you, you're going to need that money to live on. If you've got too much risk in your investments and we go through a big market downturn, and you're pulling money out at the same time, now you're having to sell when markets are down to pay your bills. That's called sequence of returns risk. That and the strategies on how to insulate you from that, we cover in our Retire with Freedom course that we do at our office on Valley Dell Road. If you would like to attend the next course, we cover that and many other strategies for retirement planning. Text JOCKS at 205-988-0006, 205-988-0006.
This is a paid placement. Investment advisory services are made available through AE Wealth Management. For more information about Forbes rankings, visit Forbes.com.
More transfer portal news out of college football here at 7:53 Tuesday, April 15th on Mac and Cube in the morning. Wake Forest quarterback Jeremy Hecklinski plans to enter the transfer portal. 6'1", 190, 4 years of eligibility. Is that good news for Robbie Ashford? Maybe becoming the starter there at Wake?
Let's hope so.
I haven't seen the tape on the entire Wake Forest quarterback depth chart, but would imagine that he has an edge up on Deshaun Pirtle, potentially.
Is it Pirtle?
Purdy?
Purdy
from Charlotte, who's transferring in. Deshaun Purdy was the quarterback that said he was going to go to Florida and then said, well, nobody told me I was going to sit behind Lagway, and then left.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah, that happened. Do you remember that, John?
Wait, nobody told me I was going to sit behind Lagway?
It was like December or something, and we were like, hold on. This kid, he's 6'4", 220, big arms. Like, why is he going to that? And then when he said he was leaving, somebody asked him, and he said, well, they didn't tell me I was going to go sit behind a guy.
Here's your sign.
Kids these days.
Wow.
Here's a clicker, son. Push play.
Yes.
And then we'll see.
Go create DJ's pressure cutups.
We'll see. This is the reason why we didn't have to tell you you're going to sit behind this guy. But yeah, that'll be your quarterback competition at Wake Forest. So we'll see. I don't know how it's going to play out. South Alabama quarterback Gio Lopez. We mentioned that he is going to hit the transfer portal. Very successful season a year ago. It feels like North Carolina now, a lot because of the price, a lot because of maybe some of the other stuff, is the leader in the clubhouse for his services. 18 touchdowns, 5 picks last year, completed 66% of his passes, over 2,500 passing yards. This is a big one, Greg. Cal running back Jaden Ott has hit the transfer portal. I'm going to be honest, I thought he was going to the NFL. Auburn fans should know him well, as he played pretty good inside Jordan-Hare Stadium last year. And played pretty good against Auburn 2 years ago. But an absolute hammer. He was a little banged up last year, so only 385 yards. But in 2023, over 1,300 yards. Guy can go. Really good running back that somebody's going to land.
Well, I think he's maybe as impactful a player. If you need a guy that can improve your rushing attack and can be a 3-down running back out of the backfield as a receiver, as a receiving threat, he's big time. I would 100% kick the tires if I had a little bit of a need for running back.
Pete Nako says Oklahoma the team to watch for him. Oklahoma's offense can mess around and be really good.
It's a great fit.
Be really good.
Like, that's an ideal situation.
We've got Gordy Rush to tell us what happened in Baton Rouge over the weekend. He'll join us on the other side next, right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour number 2 underway. Talked a lot of transfer portal. Talked a lot of Nico Iamaleava first segment. A little bit of Alabama quarterback situation. Heard from Ryan Grubb and what he had to say there. A couple of others that are in the portal quickly before we move on to Gordy Rush. Western Kentucky linebacker Trent Zappe in the portal.
Bailey?
Brother?
Is it?
Yes.
Boom. Take him.
Louisville wide receiver JoJo Stove in the portal. Apparently a big-time recruit, a guy that a lot of people are excited about. And Colorado has gotten commitments from Michigan offensive lineman Xavier Hill, or Memphis offensive lineman Xavier Hill, who had a pretty good year there for Ryan in Memphis. And then Campbell wide receiver Sincere Brown, 6'5", 190, 61 catches, 1,028 yards, 12 touchdown receptions for Campbell last year. So the talent continuing to upgrade there for Coach Prime in Colorado. And Texas signed Stanford wide receiver Emmett Mosley. Greg, as a true freshman, had 48 catches last year.
I'm looking at the Sincere Brown, though. What I'm trying to figure out, and we had talked about this a little before the show, he was at USF.
Correct.
And he was now at Campbell, went to USF, and now is at Colorado. I was under the impression it was the other way around, but I remember that guy. He's got great length. I mean, he's got a lot of length. Need to go back and take a peek at the tape, but I remember him, and the name is, of course, familiar as well, given the Bama played him twice. So be curious to see how Colorado does this year. I think they're a fascinating story this season.
No doubt. All right, let's get to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcoming Gordy Rush, sideline for... We'll get to Gordy Rush here in just a moment.
Uno momento. Before we do, I'll tell you about my friends at Bill Smith Buick GMC. They're the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champs. They've been doing it for an incredibly long time, and they can continue to deliver deals that nobody else can deliver. You just go and take a peek for yourself. Go and check out the GMC Sierra 1500 Denali Ultimate. It's the nicest truck that you can find. $86,690 is the list price. Well, at Bill Smith Buick, you will get it for just over $72,000. That is $14,500 off the sticker. And it's reasons like that is why people come back multiple times. 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Go take the short drive to Coleman. You'll see what I'm talking about. They're the very best. You'll see Andy Cole. You'll see Jonathan Yeager. You'll see why they've won 5 national championships in a row and why they've won 8 overall. That's according to General Motors. Take the short drive to Coleman. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
Before we get to Gordy Rush, we'll go to Dr. Mel, wants to chime in on something that we have not hit yet today. Mel, what's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, guys. Well, just want to acknowledge a great coach. He had the best of both worlds, and I considered him one of the best defensive minds of the century, Coach Brother Bill Oliver. So I'd like to just reach out and have everyone, all of your listeners, to lift up the Oliver family this morning with Coach Brother Bill Oliver.
No, I appreciate that, Dr. Mel, and I actually had some time carved out for this just a little bit later in the show. Thank you for the call. Bill Oliver took over as head coach when I was at Auburn after Terry Bowden got fired. Bill Oliver was a guy that I played only defense in high school. I didn't play a down of offense in high school. And Bill Oliver made it pretty clear when I got to Auburn that he didn't want me to move to offense. He wanted me to stay on defense, and recruited me when he was at Alabama. And we had some defensive tackle depth issues my true freshman year when I was redshirting. And he kind of alluded to me a couple of times like, hey, I'm trying to get you over here. I want you to come over here. And which leads me to one of my probably top 3 Rick Trickett stories that I ever have that while we're waiting on Gordy Rush, I'll just take you into now. We had a morning workout during the season. This is like week 3, 4, like into the season of my true freshman year. I'm redshirting. I'm trying to figure out how to play offensive line, trying to figure out how to play center. And Bill Oliver pulls me to the side after practice the previous day, and he goes, listen, I got like 3 healthy D tackles. He's like, I got to get you over here to help. Like, would you be willing to do it? And I said, I just want to play, coach. Honestly, I said, I just want to play. He goes, well, I know you can play defense because I've watched you. And he's like, we need to get you over here. So the next morning, 6 a.m. workout, which the offensive linemen were forced to do during the season. Makes perfect sense. And I'm in there about 10 minutes before workout, and I'm kind of over by the exercise bikes, kind of getting a little warmed up before we start our real warm up. And Coach Trickett walks in, and he said, "I got to talk to you, Cubelic." And I said, "Okay, Coach, what's going on?" Like, you didn't really want to talk to him because if he wanted to talk to you, it usually wasn't positive. It was something like a play you had screwed up the day before. He's like, "They're trying to get you over there on defense. What do you think about it?" And I said, "Coach, I want to play. I want to be on the field. I don't care where it is. I want to play in games." He's like, "By God, I knew it. I knew you were a traitor. I knew you were trying to get over there. You know what? You're not going. Forget it. They can't have you. You're staying with me. You're stuck with me." And I was just like, why did I even answer the question?
A traitor.
Why did I even say it? He's like, "Would you do it? Would you do it?" And I said, "Yeah, Coach, I want to play. But I want to play. I'll play over here. Like, I just want to be in the game." He's like, "You traitor. I knew it. I knew you were Benedict Arnold, son of a..."
Why are you a traitor for trying to get on the team?
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, I'm trying to do what's best for the team.
You didn't go to Alabama. You didn't literally trade. I don't understand what the problem is.
Like, you're not going anywhere. You're stuck with me.
I'll tell you how often you're going to play.
You mother. Thanks, Coach. Glad to be here. See you at practice this afternoon.
I knew you were trying to leave the offensive line.
That was not a great day of practice for me.
No.
I think every step that I took was a false step. Every direction that I went was wrong. Every call that I made was incorrect. There was a lot of repeated reps for me that day.
It's about time.
And my entire room was made aware of that I was trying to leave them to go to defense. To which everybody in there was like, "Don't blame him."
Yeah.
If he can get there, why would he not, Coach?
Get out while you still can.
Brandon in Leeds wants to talk NIL. Welcome in, Brandon.
Hey, guys. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
So NIL was set up for name, image, likeness. And with this Nico deal, he forfeited, his signings and whatnot. So do you feel like that NIL is just basically a pay for play? Or is it going to be one of those situations where they're going to start doing kind of like the NFL contracts with incentives? Okay, well, you want more money.
Can't make it incentive based though. Can't make it incentive based for on the field.
And that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
Is the
part
fact
of it
that you're basically saying, okay, well, I'll hold out for more money. I mean, a contract is a contract. Excuse me. And, the fact that they're not upholding that as far as the players, and I know it's agent speak that they're whispering in their ears like, okay, well, you don't like your contract here and you're getting $2 million. Well, we can go get you something else. But I'm just kind of scratching my head on where this is actually going. And I appreciate your comments.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. That's why Congress is involved. That's why a settlement is potentially on the table. And a lot of people think that a lot of this will be resolved if that goes down. I don't know if that actually will end up being the case. I did get sidetracked, though.
Did you?
Off of my Rick Trickett story to not go further into Bill Oliver and how great of a man he was. Bill Oliver was a guy that, being somebody who played on offense, yeah, there was that advantage of maybe him wanting me to go to defense at some point in time, that I would stop by his office. We would sit there and talk football for 30, 45 minutes at a time. Would always come up to guys on offense after practice. It was never just his guys. His voice, his demeanor, things that he would yell, one of a kind. You knew it was him right away. And I can say this, about 99% of our team, when Terry Bowden was fired, would have cut a finger off for him to be our head coach the next year. He served as the interim the rest of the year. There's about 2, maybe 3 guys that did not want him to become our head football coach. And the only reason for that was he made it very clear that he wanted to play the best athletes at every position. He felt like you needed speed, you needed athleticism if you were going to be a winning football team. And there were some guys that maybe were really good at their position, but they knew had better athletes or faster athletes behind them that were bigger, stronger, faster, and that was going to be a problem for them individually, so they didn't want him to be the head coach. But a guy that I love talking football with, I'll tell you the quick Bill Oliver story. We were sitting in his office one day, it was just he and I talking, and if you asked him about a play, and he's actually done this on previous shows that I've done before.
Yeah.
When I asked him about a time he was at Clemson, and Greg, he goes, well, I remember like it was yesterday, it was 3rd and 12, it was left hash. And we go in there and they said, he gave the entire call. He gave you the formation, the motion, how they adjusted to it, how they should have adjusted to it, the mismatch he wished he would have been able to sort of circumvent that they didn't have what they liked on this play. And how, I mean, it was unbelievable how he could recall things. And we're talking about his days at Clemson. And I said, man, you had championships there too. Like, how many rings do you have? Because, you know, he had multiple national championship rings playing and coaching at Alabama. And he pulls out a Crown Royal bag. He opens his desk drawer and he pulls out a Crown Royal bag. And I was like, where are we heading here, coach? And he turns the Crown Royal bag upside down and he dumps out all his rings.
Stop.
There's like 15, 18 championship rings. He just dumps them. He goes, here, you can look at all of them. He goes, there's every single one of them I got right here.
Just puts them in a Crown Royal bag? Like one of those purple bags?
Yeah, one of those purple bags.
Wow.
It had like 3 Bama national championship rings, like an ACC championship ring, an SEC championship ring, the national championship ring from 92 at Alabama. It just dumps them. They just are all over. He goes, you look at all of them. There they all are right there. It's like, all right.
Means a lot to you, doesn't it, Coach?
Very different now than when the coaches have these big glamorous glass cases and all set up.
A little different animal. Yeah.
He didn't care, man. Bill Oliver was just an awesome human, man. He when you say one of a kind, like that is truly applicable to him. He was legitimately one of a kind. As a friend, as a storyteller, one of the best storytellers you'll ever be. He would tell stories about Bear Bryant, and he coached a defensive back that taught me in high school. And he would tell me stories about him. And he would bring up exact play calls and exact games and tell you about certain things that took place. He was just an awesome guy. He really was.
Love that.
And somebody who I loved being around, loved being friends with him. Hate that he hadn't been doing well the last couple of years. And I hate that he's gone because he's just he's a special person, man. And obviously in this part of the country, being a player, a coach, one of the best defensive minds in the history of Alabama football, the director of that 92 defense, which I know Curry and Copeland and Langham and Teague and Shade just meant so much to so many different people. And then to be able to go over to Auburn and have some really good defenses that were overshadowed by terrible offenses, by the way. And then take over as the interim head coach there. His legacy should never be forgotten for what he's done for football in the state of Alabama, and just an amazing human being as well. He will be missed. There's no doubt about that. And we will leave this segment with that and get to Gordy Rush on the other side right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Had a little phone issues there, but now we've got Gordy Rush, who does sideline for LSU radio broadcasts of their football games, joining us on the Higginbotham hotline to discuss what happened in Baton Rouge over the weekend. We know it wasn't a traditional spring game, Gordy, but were there real takeaways that you had, things that you sort of learned about this football team that can put your mind at ease about certain positions or maybe find you a little more concerned with certain positions?
I think my mind was put at ease a little bit with the numbers that they have on the offensive line. And I know, Cole, we saw a couple games from the end zone last year, and the biggest thing they need to do offensively was get Garrett Nussmeier running game. And there are about 7 or 8 bodies that they've rotated through on the offensive line. They picked up 2 tight ends, and they're finally healthy at the running back position. So there was a big effort to try and run the football this spring and look at some different pieces, and they did that with a little success in the spring game.
Do you think that the last year their inability to run the ball was because they didn't want to or they didn't try, or do you think they legitimately had challenges with that? Because I think that's the first thing they got to iron out is, was it a lack of ability or was it a lack of willingness?
Well, I think, look, Joe Sloan and Corey Huntington were in their first year as co-offensive coordinators. You know, I think that a little of it was scheme, and they found their way to some things that worked for them. And then they got beat up late in the year. Caden Durham, the outstanding freshman running back, had 2 dislocated toes, and he struggled down the stretch, and so they're trying to get it done by committee. Eventually, the latter part of the season, they ran the ball better, but that was after being really one-dimensional against Texas A&M, against Bama, against Florida, down the swamp, could not run the football, and just with a veteran offensive line, it was kind of a shock. They were expected with those 5 guys returning as starters to run the ball. But I think it was a little bit of scheme, a little bit of lack of personnel at the tailback position.
Gordy Rush joining us on the Higginbotham hotline discussing LSU spring activities over the weekend and certain position groups that we are concerned about. And we've heard from Brian Kelly a couple of times this spring, but defensively is a group that I'm a little confused on. I don't know exactly what to make of it just yet. I think that there are some areas to be excited about, but there are also some unknowns and uncertainties. What do you believe Blake Baker thinks about his defense right now?
Well, I think he's excited about the new players, and obviously LSU spent a lot of money on the transfer portal. They look much more at the defensive end position, much more mature, much more physical with the transfers they got in at defensive end. Jack Pyburn, they came over from Florida, playing that strong side defensive end. He's been very vocal. He's been very physical out there. Jamari Butler came in from Nebraska. Patrick Payton early on showed his length from Florida State. And so I think the defensive line room that was really, really young and thin, I think those have been welcome additions. And then back in the secondary, they've added 3 players from the portal. Tamaris Cooley has come in and I think is going to play one of those safety positions. Jakeem Jackson's a guy that Corey Raymond was familiar with, transferred in from Florida. That to go along with some of the pieces that played well last year in the secondary. Ashton Stamps played well as a freshman. Taviano is a guy that played like some nickel, and he's played strong safety this spring. And then they had an outstanding recruit in DJ Pickett. What I will tell you, I think this is the best personnel that they've had in quite some time. The questions are Harold Perkins Jr., where is he going to play? When is he going to be 100% healthy? And of course, Whit Weeks was fantastic, and he's recovering from injury.
How is his recovery going?
That's a great question. I've only seen him on the bike, so they say that they're on schedule. I'm not out there in the training room. I've seen him a bunch, being down there at the facility. But we shall see. I'll get a chance when they get running this summer to get out and see that firsthand. But obviously, that becomes a big question area now. Is the linebacker position. What are you going to do with that personnel? They've struggled to find a spot for Harold Perkins Jr. to play after that freshman season, and where is Weeks in his recovery?
On the flip side, offensively, you mentioned that the offensive line feels like it could be a strong suit. Quarterback, we know what's going to be there. Greg is super confident in the wide receiver core. I kind of wonder, can it be what it's been the last couple of seasons? Is this going to be a great LSU receiver group, or is it just kind of yet to be known what their ceiling may really be?
Yeah, I'm with Greg. I think they have an upside. Nick Anderson's a transfer from Oklahoma. Big kid, 6'3", 6'4". He can run. They were careful with him this spring, but I think he really has a chance to be an A receiver. Last year, until LSU got Chris Hilton Jr. back out there, I don't know that they really had a wide receiver that could break 4.55. And so they struggled to take the top off of defenses. They struggled to get separation in man coverage. I don't think that's the case this year. Hilton is back. He played well in those last 4 games. Berrien Brown's a transfer from Kentucky that has elite speed. And to go along with the 2 slot receivers, they have Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas. This is a good receiver group. The 2 tight ends you've got to include when you talk about that. And Trudez Green at 6'7", goes into year 2. He's learning football, right? He was a basketball football player and really played in a big high school program just 1 year, his senior year, before going to LSU. And I've really been impressed with the addition of Bauer Sharp, the tight end from Oklahoma.
Hold on, Gordy. You're not allowed to say he's a good player. Oklahoma fans going to attack you. You can't say that. You can't.
I'm sorry.
Please be very careful with
Sorry,
that. You cannot say that he is able to do anything on a football field. You will be attacked.
Can't do it.
We're going to Oklahoma, I think, maybe for the first time ever for the last game this season. So I'm gonna choose my words wisely here. I've been impressed with what he's done on the football field, and both in a guy that can be an inline guy, and he's been really, really solid in the middle of the football field. So the combination of those 2 tight ends, and they got Donovan Green that was a transfer from A&M, who is an inline guy, I think, that helps the running game. He caught a couple balls. So I'm with Greg. This group has a chance to be really special out there.
I love the receivers. I think they're being in good shape. I love the quarterback. I think the run game, surely it has to improve. It can't be worse. The defense, we've already kind of hit on that. What's the problem spot for Brian Kelly? What's he concerned about?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that. I think the offensive line is just who is going to get in those positions. I think Braylon Moore is the transfer from Virginia Tech. He settles in at center. Then they got Josh Thompson that came from Northwestern. And how does that shuffle out? I think that's first and foremost. Can you keep the running backs, especially Durham and Barry, who are not big backs? Can you keep them healthy? And then can you continue to build, I think, schematically with some of the things you move to in the back half of the season in the run game? You've got to be able to run the football. I think that's probably the biggest concern going into fall camp.
What's the ceiling? You say the ceiling high for the receivers. What's the ceiling for the running backs?
Well, I mean, Durham, if he stays healthy, he early on he was really explosive. I think it's by committee. Caleb Jackson finally, I think, has gotten a little wiggle to his game, understands the game. That's a big back that really came on as a freshman with some big runs and got lost behind Josh Williams and Caden Durham last year. And then they have Harlan Berry, who's an interesting prospect, really highly rated out of New Orleans. He played at St. Martin's High School, which is a small school down there, and he's not a big kid. He's an explosive kid. So I think the question is, what is he going to be able to add to the package, and how's he going to transition going from a small classification in high school football to playing in the SEC?
Finally, for me, is there a transfer portal edition that people are starting to buzz about? Patrick Payton was one that I've been really curious about. I'm really curious to see how Nick Anderson, you already referenced him. But is there a transfer portal edition that might be kind of flying under the radar outside of Bauer Sharp? We don't want to get Cole in trouble. I don't
want to get Cole in trouble.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
You get yourselves in trouble too.
No.
Just wait until you feel that Oklahoma fan wrath.
No, you're responsible. But
I'm sorry.
Seriously, I don't understand. I don't understand like which guy we should be talking most about, because I'm pretty excited about all of them.
Look, I think Jack Pyburn from Florida comes in here. He's a blue collar guy. He brings a physicality I think this defense has been missing a little bit. and he's been very vocal out there. And so the reels, all the new media, they've had a lot of Pyburn features in there. So I think people have really taken a liking to him. And then because of it's been Pyburn, it's been Peyton. Jamari Butler came over from Nebraska. He's been really good as a speed rusher on the other side. So, but I would say Pyburn and Butler. And again, I don't think you can put a price tag on the maturity they brought to this defensive side of the football that's been so young the last couple of years.
Gordy, great stuff, man. Appreciate you giving us some updates on just kind of what happened over the weekend, how LSU looked, and keeping us in the loop on it. We look forward to having you back soon.
Okay, guys, have a great Easter. Y'all take care.
Happy Easter to you. Gordy Rush joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. So we will kind of roll into exactly what that might mean for LSU, what we just heard from Gordy Rush, and how things may appear to be this fall. Next on Mac and Cube in the morning. $8:31, Tuesday, April 15th, Jocks 94.5. Eastern Michigan has a new assistant general manager, Greg.
Who's that? Who we got?
That'll be one Max Crosby.
Ooh.
You guys be in the office grinding on tape?
Probably should be. I didn't even know that's where he went to school.
Yep.
How back? How back is Eastern Mich?
They should be back. Should be good.
Big fan?
I think it's great to get these guys involved in any way you can.
Heck yeah.
I would love to know the level of involvement by some. Like, I don't know
Besides
exactly
none?
what McAfee's going to do for West Virginia. I don't know what Max Crosby's going to do for Eastern Michigan. But to have their names on the program is going to help in a lot of ways. If you can get them back on campus a couple of times, if you can get some money out of their pocket, that's great. And then a guy like Max Crosby, maybe you send him a couple of clips and you say, hey, can you watch these cut-ups from this kid from, Mercer? We're thinking about signing him. What do you think? And he can give you some opinions on it. Maybe it's just a phone call from those guys like Steph Curry at Davidson. He just calls a couple of recruits, says, hey, man, we'd love to have you on board. And that's enough to push that guy, between one score or the other and help you out a little bit. So I think it's cool to do it. I just think down the road, it's going to be interesting to hear what is the actual level of involvement for some of these guys that are going and taking these roles behind the scenes for certain programs.
I think it's all optics. I don't think they're really going to be involved whatsoever. How can you be? Maybe from a recruiting standpoint, make a couple calls. Sure. Like I could see that maybe happening, but for the most part, man, he's got a job to do. Like his obligation is to his family to continue to create havoc for the Las Vegas Raiders. Like he's not currently, at least I can't imagine he is all in right now on trying to make sure that his program, his college program, is where it needs to be. Doesn't mean he won't care or like maybe take a peek at some things, but I would not anticipate a heavy involvement.
Yeah, definitely think he cares. And I think a lot of these guys are doing this because they care and because they want some good things to happen. So, all right, LSU last year, 9-4, 5-3 in the SEC. They knocked off Baylor in the Texas Bowl. That's how they finished their season. Bill Connolly's returning production wowould be 62%, which would be 38th in FBS, 65 on offense, 41 on defense. They've made additions on both sides. Nussmeier, of course, with Aaron Anderson, we've talked about. Caden Durham back on offense. What might hold the offense back for LSU this upcoming season?
Being one-dimensional again. I mean, that's really it. I mean, one-dimensional, it would be a huge problem, but I think another huge problem for them would be an injury to Nussmeier. That is also to be expected. That's standard. I don't think that needs a whole lot of explanation, but injury to him would be a huge issue. And then finally, I would say the offensive line, maybe being leaky would be something I'd be concerned about as well.
You go get Braylon Moore from Virginia Tech. He'll try to fill in, help a little bit. You lose Emory Jones. You lose Will Campbell. You lose a couple of guys inside that moved around, played different positions, helped you in some different ways. But it does look like it could be problematic. We just don't know what that group's going to look like just yet. You went and got Miles Frazier from FIU a couple of years ago. He helped. Garrett Dellinger played center guard. He helped. There's just a lot of bodies gone from that offensive line. But I'm with you. I think it's almost more a play calling mentality.
Yeah.
And, the previous regime got pass happy, but you had Jaden Daniels and you had some good receivers, but Daniels added enough with his legs to where you didn't have to just hand it to Logan Diggs 20 times a game.
No.
So he kept the defenses where you needed him to be because of his ability to leave the pocket, some of that by design, some by him just seeing it. The inability to just call run plays has got to change. It's got to be different, or else I think what you just stated as one of your biggest concerns will become a reality, and they will be one-dimensional again.
Well, I think that part of it too is going to be Nussmeier's decision-making process. I mean, he can call a run play, but they're not ever the guy that's that talented. I don't think you're ever going to completely take your foot off the gas as a play caller and say, yeah, you do not have freedom in this scenario to this. I think they absolutely will say they'll tag every single run with the opportunity to adjust to a pass in the event in which the look is not good. That to me makes perfect sense. But then again, is Nussmeier willing to potentially, let it kind of go, let the play ride? I don't know the answer to that. So until you can help me understand the answer to that, I would expect it being continuously more challenging to run the football. Because I think it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Like, you call runs. Oh, well, why aren't you allowing your quarterback to get you in the best possible play with a post-snap read? Okay, well, you call passes. Well, why aren't you running the football? It's kind of a tricky situation.
It's one that, too, I think a lot of LSU fans, going back to what you just referenced, are used to running the ball. They're used to having running backs that can go, and some are just going to want that no matter what.
Yeah.
But Joe Sloan, at times last year, I thought got pretty pass happy, and it's a very. It is there is also a part of it, and he was honest with us later in the year when we had him about a couple of plays that could have been handoffs.
Yeah,
and it's like, I mean, Saban said it back when Tua was there, and the RPOs really started getting going. Like, if you give the quarterback the option to keep it and throw it,
right?
What do you think he's going to do?
What would you do?
I'm probably. Especially if I had Tua's talent, I'm probably throwing some slants.
I'm gonna make it work
to those receivers.
Yeah,
we ain't handing the ball off a whole lot.
Like, every single time that you handed it off, the defense did a cartwheel.
Probably.
I mean, and that's no disrespect to the running backs over there. They had good backs. It has nothing to do with the backs and the quality of back they had. It has everything to do with the fact that if Tua throws, it could be a touchdown. If the running back if they hand it to the running back, it's a 6-yard gain. Like, I'll take the 6-yard gain as opposed to the touchdown every day of the week.
Right. So we'll see kind of where it goes for LSU this fall, but it is starting to lean a little bit more towards that offense being pretty good. And then, as you brought up with Gordy Russ, the defense, man, Whit Weeks comes back like he was last year. Harold Perkins is healthy and can help you in a myriad of ways. I mean, even if he's not an every down really good at being everything that position requires, he should be useful in some ways,
right?
No matter what. And those are ways that can give offenses problems. So if that's the case, then the defense should take a step. Year number 2 under Blake, understanding kind of what it's all about.
I think they're going to be good on defense. And maybe I'm totally naive, and that is 100% possible. I will be the first to admit. But I just know the second-year bump that most of these schools get when their program is in place for a little bit of time. And I am of the belief that is 100% going to happen at LSU. I'd be surprised if it didn't. And honestly, like, I kind of anticipate the same thing at Bama. I anticipate the same thing at a bunch of places in which they're in there for the second year.
Yes. How many teams would you place ahead if you were ranking SEC teams of LSU today? It can't be many. I know we've had the conversation about Texas, and that would be one for both of us that definitively would be there. But are there a lot of others that you would say right now, yes, I would have that team ahead of LSU? Because I don't know outside of Texas if I definitively would say, yes, Georgia's ahead of LSU. Yes, Alabama's ahead of LSU. If I was taking flyers, maybe Oklahoma. Starting to really lean that direction, but
wow.
I don't know if as much of that's proven, so I couldn't do it right now.
Golly, you're all in on the.
There's a lot to like there right now. A lot to like about the Sooners right now.
I get it, but man, alive. I mean, I don't know.
It could not work.
Could not.
But who definitively do you feel better about right now than LSU outside of Texas?
Yeah, I think I'd probably have them second. Tough schedule. Couple tough road games, including a road game to Clemson, road game to Bama. They have some tough games that are on their schedule for sure. But it probably, with the known commodities coming back, it probably second. Texas is one, and I think it's some combination of the following four that are all kind of combined, whether it's LSU, Georgia, Alabama. And then I am real close to putting a fourth team in there right now, but I just can't do it. I can't put Auburn in there yet. I just can't. I want to, I can't. So I would kind of say that it's Oklahoma, but it's anybody's guess. Like, I'm a little bit more down on South Carolina. I'm about level with Florida. I'm a little bit down on Tennessee. I'm a little bit down on Ole Miss. All those teams relative to last year. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. Like, whose arrow's pointing up? I think Oklahoma's is pointing up. I think Auburn's is pointing up. I think Alabama's is pointing up. And I think LSU's is pointing up. And then Texas is about the same. Georgia's about the same.
Well, one thing there are no questions about, and that is who you call if you're moving from one house to another.
That'd be Crocker Moving Services, a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
Okay, we will get to a break. There is a question around LSU, other teams, who we think are going to be some of the better teams in the league that I think is a little bit difficult to answer, and that is who doesn't meet expectations in the league. And that's not the teams that have low ones now. We know who those are, but maybe teams that have some higher expectations that we don't think get there as of today. We'll discuss that when we come back next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Tuesday, April 15th, 8:46 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. We've talked a lot of college football. We talked LSU. Are they in the top 3, top 2 of the SEC right now, if you were ranking those teams? What we haven't talked about, Greg, are teams that may not be able to live up to the expectations this year. And I don't know if the expectations are outrageous really for any team because there's so many uncertainties. We just don't know. One thing we do know, though, if you have issues with your floor, Chenal Flooring is who you need to call.
Yeah, Fu has built his company on a pattern of trust and integrity. I know you guys will experience that firsthand if you guys decide to go with Shannara Flooring. They've done a great job of stocking up. We know it's going to be a very, very busy season here this summer and throughout the fall with a lot of people choosing to do some home remodeling. Trust Fu and his guys to get the job done and get the job done right. 40,000 square feet of CoreTech flooring is in stock right now at Shannara Flooring. They're the only company in the area that has that many square feet of flooring in stock. It's the waterproof, kid-proof, pet-proof flooring that brings value to your home or business. They're so easy to clean. They're so easy to maintain. And you can get 12 months financing with approved credit. So if you're thinking about making some adjustments to your floor, call who? Call Fu. Call them at 205-518-6423. You can go online at fuandyou.com.
So it's difficult to say what teams won't live up to expectations because we don't really know what a lot of the expectations are. They're going to be different for different people. So I guess the only way to go through this would be with win totals of what Las Vegas thinks that these teams are going to end up being. John, do you have the SEC win totals
in
front of you? Let's just kind of go through those team by team and decide maybe, Greg, who is their expectations a little bit too far out there. They're not going to be able to meet those. They'll go under what Vegas may think.
Let's hear it.
John?
We'll start at the top. Alabama. Their over-under win total is set at 9.5.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
I think it's about right. I don't immediately say they'll be under that. So next.
That will be Arkansas at 5.5.
I'd probably take the over.
Now I'm interested in the Arkansas schedule. I don't think that they are going to be below that as far as my expectation for what they're going to do this year. Just without even having the schedule in front of me, I would probably say take Arkansas on the over.
I would take the over. Just knowing the quarterback by himself, another year in the system, Bobby Petrino calling the plays, I expect pretty good development that you can expect from that position. Now, will they have the same level of receiver? Big question. I don't know the answer to that.
Alabama A&M, Arkansas State, at Ole Miss, at Memphis, Notre Dame at home, at Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, at LSU, at Texas, Missouri. So A&M, Arkansas State could be 2. You would think that they'll get Memphis. That would be 3. Mississippi State they should get would be 4. So you need 2 other wins between Missouri, Texas, LSU, A&M, Tennessee, Auburn, Ole Miss.
I think they can get a couple of those. What do you think?
I think there's a chance A&M's not going to be great on offense. There's a chance Tennessee's not going to be great on offense. Missouri, a lot of unknowns. Ole Miss, a lot of unknowns, not going to be as good as they were on defense last year. So I think they can get 2 of those.
I think they can definitely get 2 of those.
I would say go over there. Okay, John, continue, please.
Let's have a little fun. The Auburn Tigers, 7.5.
Could go below that, but I don't feel like
I'm going to go over.
I don't feel like the expectations are out of whack as far as they're going to be way below that. So
I don't think they'll be below that. I think they'll be over that. But then again, I thought they'd be over that last year. So it just, they kind of lost a few just by shooting themselves in the foot. Assuming a smarter team, assuming a team that doesn't make the critical mistake is, I would think, a safe assumption.
I think they're going to go over it, but I don't have confidence they'll blow way past it. The difference for Auburn this year will be the back half of the schedule. You play Georgia October the 11th. You get Missouri, Arkansas on the road, Kentucky at home, Vandy on the road, a week off, Mercer, and then Alabama. That is nowhere close to the way that they finished last season or what the middle of last season looked like. So that Oklahoma game is massive. The game in Norman week 4 is huge. And
even if they get beat there, though, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, they can.
Would you say they have to get one of 2 at Oklahoma, at A&M, back-to-back, September 20th, September 27th?
That would be really helpful.
Yeah, you got to split that, I think.
Yeah, really
and
helpful.
Need to get Baylor. I think they need to get Baylor for a lot of reasons.
No, I think I've already given them Baylor. I'm not saying it's an automatic lock, but if they're going over, they better get that one.
Yes. Okay, John.
Florida Gators at 6.5.
Definitely not a team that's going to be under that expectation. No. Greg.
But that feels, the only problem with that is like, why is it so low? Tough schedule. I get all that. I have a hard time thinking that
I think
team.
If you make it 7.5, everybody's betting the under.
Good. I'd still take the over.
Okay. Next.
The Georgia Bulldogs at 9.5. I
Over.
don't think they're going under
Yeah,
that.
it's about where it needs to be. I don't think that's egregious. Okay.
Whew, on the mighty have fallen. Kentucky at 4.5.
Under.
They're not going. The reason that I think Kentucky doesn't fall into the category that we're discussing is, as you just stated, 4.5 wins. The expectations are not for them to be very good. So I don't think that they're going to fall short of expectations per se. The number game might be a little bit different, but are they falling short of expectations? I'm going to say no. Toledo, Ole Miss, Eastern Michigan, at South Carolina, at Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, at Auburn, Florida, Tennessee Tech, at Vandy, at Louisville. They can get 5.
They can.
Yeah, so I'm saying the
But will they?
expectation's not out of whack. Okay, go ahead.
Speaking of expectations, LSU 8.5.
Very surprising, because if you look at the schedule, I feel like it's tough, but not unbearable. I would take over. I like LSU a lot, but it's kind of hinging on progress defensively and a better offensive line performance from start to finish. I don't know if you're going to get better offensive line performance, so you better be better on defense.
Clemson week 1's tough on the road, but I don't see a lot of other teams that I look at on the schedule and say, no, they can't get them. Oklahoma could be tough. Bama could be tough. A&M could be tough. Ole Miss could be tough. Florida could be tough, but none of those teams are light years ahead of them. None of them. So, yeah, I'm fine with it, but they're not going to be way under that, though.
No.
A team that potentially could be, though, haven't really talked about it much, also at 8.5, Ole Miss.
Under.
This feels like a team that could.
I think so far, if we're talking about teams that could fall short of expectations, that could be the one. If Austin Simmons is not the guy and the defense is a little more leaky than it was last year, yeah, I could see it. Georgia State at Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane, LSU. You're going to be beat up after month 1, Greg.
Yes. I would think that it's going to be a grind, but I'm not a believer this year. Too many unknowns on defense.
Washington State at home. At Georgia, at Oklahoma, South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, at Mississippi State. I don't look at a lot of these teams and say they're automatic losses, but I look at teams and say, with today's college football, I would reference it as this. This is an expensive schedule, meaning the price you're going to pay for playing some of these teams is not going to offset just getting the win.
Yeah.
And I mean that when I say Washington State, Tulane, probably even Georgia State still. Those are going to be games that your starters have to play a little bit longer. Those are going to be games that are a little bit more physical than Citadel later in the year.
Yeah.
And getting some of those games early, all of those games are first half of the season, by the way, with a physical Kentucky, pretty physical Arkansas, and pretty physical LSU team. Oh, by the way, then you got Georgia, Oklahoma back-to-back on the road. And you got to get South Carolina the week after that. It appears to be an expensive schedule is how I would sort of discuss it. And yes, I think if so far the teams we've talked about, that would be one that has a chance of falling short of expectations.
Yeah. And I really like the possibility of everything that they did last year and everything that can be built on from last year. I don't like the idea of it necessarily getting just rolled over in perpetuity. Like, I think it's a rebuild. And I while there are pieces that I like, there are too many unknowns for me to feel great about what they could accomplish this year.
All right, see if we can get 1 or 2 more in.
There are a few more that I'm going to hold off on, but one I think you can have fun with. Vanderbilt, 4.5.
Well, they're not falling short of that. I'll say that.
You would take the over.
Charleston Southern, at Virginia Tech, at South Carolina, Georgia State, Utah State, at Bama, LSU, Missouri, at Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, at Tennessee. I could see it being closer than people think.
Right on the mix. It's going to be right on the line.
But you should
You should have 3 in the non-con.
Southern, Georgia State, Utah State. You
have
get
3
those.
in the non-con for sure. But you still have.
If you get Virginia Tech week 2, you're fine.
I don't know if you're going to get Virginia Tech week 2. At Virginia
Everybody said
Tech,
that last year. I'm sorry. They play Metallica before the game starts. Nobody can win that game.
Can't win it. It's the ACC. Don't lose sight of the ACC.
You think Diego Pavia gives 1 rip about Metallica before a game? That actually probably helps him.
It probably does.
We are going to talk Georgia spring activities in just a moment, but I have big news after that about football in the state of Alabama. It's football time in Alabama, and then it wasn't football time in Alabama, and now it may be football time in Alabama again. We'll get to that after we visit with Jake Rowe, who joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline to discuss Georgia activities related to football over the weekend, a.k.a. spring game, spring get-together, spring practice. Jake, what were you able to learn about how Kirby Smart put this event together on Saturday?
It was a normal G-Day. They didn't really do anything different than what they normally do. Maybe flip players from projected first-team offense to projected second-team offense a little bit more than usual, maybe mixed and matched with the first half and the second half. But overall, it was a very typical air attack spring game. They dropped back. I would guess there were at least 100 called pass plays in that game. Several scrambles to go with 88 pass attempts, and they only ran it 40-something times. So one of those deals where he tried to do something that was going to be entertaining and, put the ball in the air a lot, wanted to challenge DBs, wanted to let receivers make plays. And what you're going to have when you have something that lopsided is it's going to be a little sloppy at times, and it's going to look good at times. And I thought I came away overall impressed with some elements of the team that I thought, need to be good for Georgia to be good this year.
When you look at what Gunnar Stockton's bringing to the position and how unified the team might be as a result of his leadership, how much do you think that will improve the overall chemistry on the team?
It certainly is not going to hurt. I always struggle with that. And it's not that I don't think it means something. I know, you two have been there and y'all know how much that means. I don't always know how straight of the story you get, because, now all of a sudden we've got a lot of media people, especially in our market, and I'm not trying to make any enemies here by saying this, but we got a lot of people that want to, as my grandmother would say, throw off on Carson Beck here and kind of this and that. I'm not saying you guys are trying to do that. And they're trying to do that in conjunction with, lifting up Gunnar. And listen, I know this team will play its heart out for Gunnar. I get that. But I just don't have a great feeling on exactly what it means. What I do know is they love Gunnar. And I think Gunnar, just as importantly, is the fact that Gunnar's a great leader and he's a unifying presence there. And he's the type of guy that you'll run through a wall for because he'll do it for you. I think Gunnar's a talented football player too. And I saw some of that on Saturday, some throws in the second half of that game that I was like, okay, those are. I don't necessarily know that I thought Gunnar had that in him, and he uncorked a few deep balls, a few balls beyond 20 yards in that second half that I were like, that's nice.
Jake Rowe joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. He covers the Georgia Bulldogs. Jake, is there any indication that Bobo sort of morphs the offense a little bit around Gunnar Stockton's abilities? He'll give you more with his legs. Obviously, contact not going to shy away from. Don't have to be as protective of him. Even though you mentioned some of the things he showed you with his arm, could the offense just look a little bit different with him at the helm?
I'm sure it will, but we didn't get to really see any of that in G-Day because obviously, no contact, no quarterback not doing anything as far as that goes. I did see a lot more kind of moving the pocket type stuff, just directly sprint out stuff because Gunnar, I do feel like is a more so than he's a fast guy or even a guy that's powerful. I think he's got some twitch to him. He's got some quickness there. And I think when you've got a guy that can kind of when he can get 0 to full speed pretty quickly and kind of move the pocket that way, I think it's pretty important. And so I think his ability to kind of get out of there and throw on the run is something that you'll see a lot more of in this Georgia offense. But in terms of more from the offense around his mobility a little bit more, it's tough to know with a G-Day game like that since they can't really tackle him.
Do you think that this passing attack has a chance to be much better because of the receivers? I know Gunnar Stockton might not be as capable. I know you said a moment ago he's got plenty of arm. I think he's got all you can possibly ask for. But I do think at the same time, this receiver core has a chance to be so much more impressive, considering they just have a chance to be maybe, I don't know, consistent. Good starting point there. So as a result of the receiver improvement, is there a chance that the passing attack is actually better?
You know, Greg, I would have had a lot better things to say this time last year about the receiver group too that they had last year. And then Ra Thomas ran into his stuff, and then Colby Young ran into it, and Georgia was left without a split end. They didn't have anybody to play X receiver that had really any experience doing that, and they had to lean on Dylan Bell. It wasn't really his forte. I certainly think Georgia is deeper and more talented at receiver than they were this time last year. And I think they're better equipped to handle some of those losses. You know, London Humphreys had a big game, the second-year transfer from Vanderbilt. He's on his second year on campus. He made some big plays for Georgia last year at times, but he had a good showing, and I thought he was impressive. Zach Branches was a little bit limited. The transfer from USC was a little bit limited because he's been battling a hamstring towards the end of camp, and we didn't get to see a whole lot of Noah Thomas. But the freshmen, C.J. Wiley, Taylor Taylor, both very impressive players. Getting Colby Young back, it has been a big deal for this offense. And Dylan Bell being a little bit more in his element, I think is going to really help Georgia. A guy that can play flanker, can play slot, can line up at tailback for you. You can move him around and find different ways to get the ball to him. He's another guy that had a really big game. I think he had 5 touches for over 80 yards, or over 90 yards, sorry. I certainly like the talent in that receiver room. And I also think another part of this offense that Gunnar Stockton helps unlock is, Carson Beck, for as talented of a passer as he was, and man, he was just an absolute baller in that mid-range, that 10 to 25 yard area. Like he was so good. Gunnar is very accurate pushing the ball downfield, and that's something that you saw that in the Sugar Bowl, and you saw that a lot in the second half on Saturday, with probably 5-6 throws beyond 20 yards that he couldn't have walked out there and handed it to him in a better spot. He's got a knack for that, and I think that's something that when you've got that, we've seen it with Jalen Milroe in the past with Alabama. When Jalen Milroe is out there putting deep balls on a tee for his receivers, Alabama was tough to stop, and I think Gunnar has the ability to kind of push the ball out there and make those over the shot, those layups really count.
We're visiting with Jake Rowe, who covers the Georgia Bulldogs, just talking some of the expectations coming out of their spring game, which I guess I can safely say. We weren't able to see it, Jake, so if you tell us it was a game, we'll call it a game. Not able to reference that at a lot of other spots. That portal window is going to open. We're already seeing guys heading in, or at least announcing that they're going to be in. Do you expect much roster change after this next portal window for Kirby Smart?
Yeah, not a ton, but yeah, there will be some. I think Georgia's probably going to want to lose 3 or 4. That's the way the portal goes too. I mean, it takes away by necessity sometimes. So I think they'll probably lose 3 or 4 guys. They really want to bring in an edge, and I think they'd like to bring in 2 if they could, kind of an edge outside backer type and then an edge 5-tech DN type. I think they would love to bring in guys at those, 2 specific spots. I think running back's another thing. You started hearing some buzz about that about 10 days ago, which makes me think that they probably got one going out at some point, and that's not surprising considering, a true freshman, Bo Walker, has been one of the biggest stories of the spring. And then, obviously, I feel like this is the same for 99% of teams in college football. If they can find the right fit at quarterback, somebody that'll come in and want to work to try and earn the job, and somebody they feel like can stick around, I think they would go there and always D-tackle. Anybody and everybody would love to add the right guy at D-tackle, and I think Georgia would like to do that too.
It's amazing to me how many teams want to D-tackle. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's almost like there are none.
Seriously, it's like, how many? We don't live in an era when you get 9 anymore. Like you have 9 that can play. Like, I'm sorry, like back in the day, and these coaches are all spoiled by what they had 10 years ago. It doesn't work that way anymore. It'd be nice, but let's be real. What do you make?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about this specific thing, and they were like, "Well, Alabama used, Alabama used to keep them coming." I was like, "Yeah, but you don't have guys like Quinnen Williams playing 1 snap in the national championship game and then coming back and being the best player in college football the next season. Like that's not how it works anymore. If he's only playing 1 snap, he's moving on."
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a little different than it used to be. What do you make of just kind of what's gone on at the running back spot Sounds like they're deeper at that spot than maybe I originally anticipated. We know what Nate Frazier is, but it sounds like they have a couple others that they're very excited about.
They do, Greg, but man, when I tell you that Georgia at running back, the stuff that they get themselves into with injuries is unbelievable. I mean, they stayed dinged up the past 2 seasons. And they at least found a way to get healthy in 2013. But you can go back to Jim Donnan, Mark Richt, and Kirby Smart, all of them. It's happened to other schools too. I mean, Alabama a couple years ago in the SEC championship game, Brian Robinson was questionable for the game, and he was the only tailback they had. So I get the physicality of that spot. I like where they're at right now. Chauncey Bowens looked great in the spring game. Bo Walker's had a great spring. Nate Frazier's a known commodity. But are they going to be equipped to handle more injuries at that spot? And I think that's why you'll probably see them go to the portal, because behind those guys, you got 2 guys that were injured all spring in Branson and Roderick Robinson. Neither one of those guys have been able to catch a single break in terms of health. And then you got Dwight Phillips and Cash Jones, who are more kind of gadget, third down, edge runs and check down type backs. So, I think they're going to definitely try and add somebody, but I feel like they feel really good about their top 3 at that spot, which is Frazier, Bowens, and Walker.
Visiting with Jake Rowe, who covers the Georgia Bulldogs on the Higginbotham Hotline, spring game over the weekend, recapping that. Greg and I have talked about this offensive line a little bit, and it's hard to really come to conclusions on what it may be, because you lose starters and probably a couple guys going to get drafted, but they didn't play well last year at the end of the day. And you got a couple guys that did fill in and did some good things at times. One coming back that was supposed to be great last year and just flat out wasn't. What do you make right now of what this group may or may not be this fall?
So there have been some interesting comments from the players this spring about the offensive line. And one of them came from Monroe Freeling when he said that he felt like they played almost a little bit scared last year, scared to mess up, scared to I don't know if scared to get hurt or scared to hurt their draft stock or whatever. But I feel like Georgia the past few years has had more of a hierarchy and more of a kind of a I don't even really know how you would say it, more of kind of a graduation thing going on at offensive line. Like, hey, you rotate in for a year, and then you get graduated to starter, and you're more prepared than the next guy to play, and so your 80% is better than his 100%. And now I think Georgia's got more of that eat off the floor mentality that Kirby Smart likes to talk about, where it's got about 10 or 11 guys. Like, there are a couple like Ernest Green and Monroe Freeling that are going to have spots, I believe. Micah Morris is a pretty good bet. But I think you've got a lot of guys that see opportunity, and then maybe there's a chance here for some of those guys to really scratch and claw and get better. Bo Hughley and Jai Jackson both did that this spring. They've got a true freshman in Juan Gaston who it sounds like he's going to be a factor. I'm thinking, and I've got my doubts as to whether this can happen or not. But that offensive line last year, it was beat up, and it's hard to fix your issues when you can't practice. So that's difficult. But they underperformed so badly that I really feel like that there almost has to be a bounce back. There almost has to be a squeaky wheel gets the grease, even if it's from the head man himself, because they've got to get that part sorted out. And to their credit, when it comes to the buzz, when it comes to what you heard, if you take the first 2 or 3 weeks of spring practice and that, especially that first scrimmage when the offense sucked, it was terrible. The last couple of weeks of spring, the offense bounced back and was better, and the O-line kind of stepped up and played better. You know, if that's kind of the way it's going to happen, I like their chances. But they've got to do something that last year's team did not do, and that's just get better. Because Georgia had a great spring on the O-line last spring, and then it just never got better. In fact, it actually took steps back, and the same issues that plagued it in game 1 plagued it in game 15 or game 14, and that's the problem.
Absolutely. Jay, great stuff, man. Thanks for the time today. Thanks for catching us up on the Georgia spring game, everything that went down with it, and I look forward to having you back again soon.
Anytime, fellas.
There you go. Jake Rowe covers the Georgia Bulldogs, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You can find Jake online. Anybody covering Georgia, when you see him, you know he's the one that's going to be able to get it done, and he does a great job. At Jake M. Rowe on Twitter. and find him at Dogs HQ via the On3 Sports Network. So we'll take a little bit of that, follow it up in just a moment. Tyler Watt's going to be with us on the other side. When we come back, though, I told you it looked like it was football time in Alabama, then not. And it may be football time in Alabama again. What does all that mean? I'll tell you next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Does anybody remember the indoor team we fell in love with last year? It was the Arena 2 League, and it was up and down. And then we found like the Piffle Professional Indoor Football League. We had some, there were some teams that were in, some teams that were out.
I legit don't remember.
Well,
no.
I got a whole new something for us this summer.
Oh, no.
Get ready.
What is it?
Well, unfortunately, Michael Lathrop at XFL Mike 23 hours ago tweets out news. What? It was all caps, Greg. I'm just trying to emphasize the letters he emphasizes.
Okay.
International Football Alliance have terminated Alabama Beavers membership due to league compliance violations. Yeah, that's what I said.
The Beavers?
There's more than one what there.
I didn't know we had a team.
During the team's minicamp operations, hotel accommodation food services were secured through Embassy Suites while an initial deposit of $500 was received. No further payments were made towards total owned.
No. Don't tell me things like this.
That was just one of the reasons that it looked like
tell me
we were
like
going to lose the Beavers. Then, Michael Lathrop, 22 hours ago, update! Per an IFA team owner, the IFA football is dead.
Oh, no.
We need like the Undertaker
all
gong there.
The good things. Nobody can have nice things.
That could be taken out of context. There is 50-50 chance 4 teams pulling together to form a new league. According to Michael Lathrop, that would be the Alabama Beavers, the Ohio Valley Ironmen.
The what? Firemen?
Ironmen.
Oh. It feels like they should be in Alabama.
Oh God, we don't have to go there again. San Antonio
Brahmas.
Caballeros.
Caballero.
That makes sense.
And the Tampa Tornadoes. First thing you think of when you think of Tampa.
Hurricanes.
Tornado.
Hurricane's a water tornado.
Now, fast forward. Michael Lathrop, 20 hours ago.
No.
Mike's been busy.
Don't.
On the International Football Alliance.
Don't do it.
Update number 2.
Don't do it.
Per my phone conversation with a member of Alabama Beavers leadership, the internal at the IFA football email I obtained is untruthful and outright defamation. It's evident there's more to the situation.
Gosh.
Wait for it.
No.
Wait for it. 18 hours ago via Twitter. At Alabama Beavers.
Mm-hmm.
Profile reads, the Alabama Beavers official X account. Statement reads, your Alabama Beavers found a new home within a new league for the 2025 season. We're excited about the new ideas and plans for the players. With this change, our players will have a better opportunity long term. This season is going to be very competitive, exclamation point. That's all you can ask for, some competitive
What more do you want?
Right? That's it.
What more do you want?
That's all you can ask for here.
That's all I ask for. Nothing more, nothing less.
Now, on November 23rd of 2024, there was a video posted by one Cody Mandel at Cody Mandel _ of him punting a football over some stands. He's actually punting sideways on the field, which I feel like that would not be where your special teams coach wanted the ball to go. However, it says getting ready for the season at Alabama Beavers.
So
just another reason to be excited about Alabama Beavers football.
I've been a Beavers fan for a minute.
Actually about a minute and 20 seconds, probably.
Probably
you did say a minute.
Slightly longer than that. We started talking about it 4 minutes ago. So 5 minutes ago. Huge fan, whole life, die hard. But I will admit,
you have questions? So do I.
It's just hard for me to get on board right now. It's hard for me to get on board. It's hard for me to feel good about it. I don't feel good about it.
Well, Greg, when you're changing leagues a month before your season starts,
never good.
Nobody would feel great about that.
Yeah, it's not what you want. It's just not what you want.
However, Wait a second.
Okay.
I just saw a video from May 23rd, 2024.
Yes.
With a video attached, and it's CGI of a going down the interstate with an airplane landing above it, and the big green interstate sign says Huntsville, and then the video says Huntsville, are you ready? Never mind. We're on Talk Radio 730 1039 FM, the UMP.
Yeah.
So, 2025, IFA. They should change the video because it's not IFA.
I look forward to seeing where this goes. Season ticket holder?
Not yet. I don't know if they're available yet.
TBD?
Haven't seen the tape.
Go to Vivid Seats?
Every time you do that, it feels dangerous for a minute. Tyler Watts joining us down the Higginbotham hotline. How much money would it take for you to go play quarterback for the Alabama Beavers this spring, summer, winter, fall, whenever the season's going to be?
Is it guaranteed up front? Because a lot of these things fold before they ever start. So,
but then they find a new league, Tyler, like we just said. Like you go from one league to another with a couple weeks left.
Yeah, but don't you want the built-in accountability of like staying in shape?
I need it. I don't want it, but I do need it.
There you go. I think that might be the only thing that gets me in shape. Hey, I might have to play in this league this fall.
We need a question. We need an answer to the question. How much money would it take for you to go play quarterback for the Beavers this season? $1 million?
Any number.
1 million. 1 million cash.
Oh, I was going to go like 10,000. So heck yeah, man. Give me $1 million.
By the way, Beavers line 1, Tyler Watt. You might be able to get him.
Hey, does that not show the difference in our ages, though, of the value that people our age have of money versus what the kids now? I wasn't even thinking of dollars. I don't think I'm worth it. They do.
Yeah. Different animal, that's for sure. All I see are these, interviews with women that are like 22 or 23, and they're like, "What's your ideal income for your boyfriend?" They're like $350,000. I'm like, at 22? But yeah, time value of money, inflation. It's a crazy thing. So we had crazy, this last 3-4 weeks. No spring access for the most part. For the bigger consumer, if you went in person, you can go and see what went down last Saturday. But from your observation, how would you say the spring went for Kalen DeBoer in year 2?
I think they're excited just about the progress of having the first year under their belt and getting all the unknowns behind them. Everybody's on the same page now. They understand exactly what's expected, verbiage, language, expectations, all of that. I think, there's always a learning curve with just feeling comfortable. And sometimes it takes a year of courtship, so to speak, to kind of really get comfortable. But I think that there's a ton of enthusiasm down at practice throughout the course of spring. A lot of jawing going on, which is healthy for your team. A lot of competition going on out there on the field. And I think the coaches are excited about what they have to work with this year.
Tyler Watts joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline discussing Alabama's Spring Festival on Saturday. It was more of a practice than a game. So you weren't able to see things the way that you normally would like to, but you did get a chance to have meaningful conversations. Let's just start on offense. From guys on that side of the football that you heard from, were there things that surprised you in a positive way that maybe they felt confident about, or different guys that had exceeded expectations? What did you walk away from based on some of those conversations on the Alabama offensive side of things that you were like, okay, great, that's maybe better than I expected it to be?
Well, it wasn't so much as what they were unveiling to us is from a competition standpoint or performance standpoint of the guys. They're just excited about what they have to work with and the buy-in I think that they're getting from the players. I know that Coach Shepard and the wide receivers are extremely high on their talent level and what they can do. I know that they had a couple of really nice plays. Isaiah Horton, the big transfer, came in. I think he had one pass where he had 2 defensive backs. It was a jump ball, but he's 6'4". He went up and got it, ran it in for a touchdown. So they're excited kind of about just the different things that they have. We didn't see Ryan Williams. He didn't play. We didn't see a couple of guys in the secondary, Keon Sabb and Damani Jackson, but the coaches know what they have with those guys. It was an opportunity for some of the younger people who have kind of been sitting in the shadows the last couple of years to have a chance to really to show what they could do on Saturday. But, the wide receivers are excited. I think the DBs are back, are excited as well. Jason Jones comes in first year. I played with him. He's a great guy. He's excited just about the length and the experience that some of those young guys were able to get under their belts last season. So it's what you expect. It's optimism all the way around. But I think that they really are fired up about getting some new blood in there, some of the younger fellas who don't know anything other than what they're learning right now. And, they're anticipating a good solid year.
What do you think is the number one priority for what they're trying to do on defense? I mean, so much of the conversation is centered around the quarterback spot, understandably so. But I do think defensively, they were quietly very good last year, and that was with a lot of young players in the back end. So I'm super optimistic about the secondary, but I am a little bit questionable about what we could see up front defensively, what the pass rush looks like. How did you say that group is kind of rounding into form?
It's always a concern. Of course, Freddie Roach, the defensive line coach, always wants more. What defensive line coach doesn't want more numbers than what they currently have? But you got to feel good about the fact that you have LT Overton, James Smith, and Marion Latham coming back to kind of anchor that. You know what you have with Tim Keenan. So there's 4 guys with a ton of experience. they're really high on Bola Bumwa, the Canadian that came in. He's a work in progress, but they see a ton of upside out of him. But you have to have a couple other guys who they've been trying to develop, which is getting more and more difficult to get guys to hang around long enough to be developed in your system. But Edric Hill and Jeremiah Beeman are two other fellows that they feel they really need to be able to contribute, to offer some depth and some downs to give some other guys some rest. But, Coach Roach was talking about it 5-6 years ago. You had 15 guys in your room that you were constantly working, and because of everything that's going on in college football now, you're down to 10 or 12, and it just makes it a bigger challenge to where you have to stay injury-free and you have to develop guys as quickly as you can. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to limit what you're asking them to do so that you can just get them out on the field.
Tyler Watts joining us on the Higginbotham hotline on the call for Alabama spring game over the weekend. Edge rusher outside of maybe Quay Russaw that you heard good things about, you think could sort of step up, be able to help add some twitch, some speed off the edge?
Well, they need Keon Keeley to step up and to really be – he got some meaningful snaps last year, but it's always a work in progress. And we don't know what's going to happen, next week when the transfer portal opens back up, who becomes available, if anybody. Maybe they can add somebody there. I know that everybody's after them. But they do need a true pass rusher because right now they don't really have that threat, that Dallas Turner off of the edge that this defense has had for so many years. If you get in a third and long situation and it's game over, you're going to be getting off the field. So that's a concern. I think it is for everybody, and you have to just continue to develop your guys and hope somebody steps into that role.
Finally, Tyler, when you look at just the comfort level that Kalen's approached this offseason with, he appears much more comfortable, and look, I think if you're drinking through a fire hose last year and you inherit what it was an impossible situation, it just seems much more like himself. I know you don't know him that well, and your experience being around him dates back about a year, but have you noticed a difference in how his personality has been affected by this upcoming season?
He seems to be a little bit more at ease, if that's to say. And I know that y'all had Coach Grubb on earlier, but I think surrounding himself with people he feels really good about as far as assistance goes kind of helps him feel more at peace with what he's working with. And he's not constantly fighting we didn't do it like this in the past, questioning every decision that he makes as well. I think he's got a little bit more buy-in this year from the team so far. So guys understand what's expected of them. They feel comfortable that although it's different, it will work if we do it. And I think that's a huge hurdle to overcome. So yeah, I anticipate that he probably feels a little bit more at ease. And honestly, I think you're going to see a great improvement out of this team throughout the course of the year.
Do you expect to see a visual difference offensively with just alignment, how things are called? Like, what do you expect to be? What's a difference that fans could probably notice that they'll see in the offense this year as opposed to last year?
Well, obviously, you're not going to see near as many quarterback called runs or options out of the quarterback. And that was an asset that you had last year that you had to take advantage of. You'd have been a fool not to have used Jalen Milroe and the ability that he brings with his legs. I do anticipate it looking a little bit different, but I don't see it being drastically different. I think formations, the movement, the shifts, all that's going to remain the same. But offensively, how they attack a defense will be different. But I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from that. I think you have enough weapons. The question is, can you be strong and tough enough up front to be able to move guys around? But I think they're going to attack defenses a little differently and just try to keep doing what they do, which is what everybody does, and keep guys off balance, hit them where they're not looking, and try to take advantage.
Tyler, thanks for hopping on with us. I know it was a little bit different, a little bit weird, but you got great insight into this team and kind of how it's looking. We wanted to share that with you, and also just wanted to give you the first crack at beating out Greg to be this year's Alabama Beaver starting quarterback.
I come on the cheap. I'm a lot cheaper than him. I know that.
There we go. All right. We'll see it. Tyler, thanks, man. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, fellas.
Tyler Watts joining us on the Higginbotham hotline talking Alabama football, more ways than one, more teams than one, which we did not really anticipate. But you can always anticipate beautiful things when you walk into Bromberg's.
Well, Bromberg's has been my go-to for a very long time. Since we moved back about 8 years ago, Bromberg's been the only place I would shop. I'm telling you, you're going to have a great experience when you shop with the pros at Bromberg's. I've been in both their stores, both at Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit. The amount of opportunities they have to purchase really, really special items is off the charts. I mean, they have so many different things, whatever your preference may be, whether it's gemstones, whether it's birthstones, natural diamonds, you name it, they got it. White gold, yellow gold, platinum, anything that you could possibly imagine they have. They have those one-of-a-kind pieces as well. And I'm telling you, when you walk in, you'll be glad that you shopped at Bromberg's, because you purchase things like this. It might be something that you're purchasing generationally for your family. So highly recommend the experience that you'll have when you go to Bromberg's. You'll see what I'm talking about when you walk in the door at Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
A couple other big names potentially headed to the portal. We'll let you know who and what that might mean for the team that's losing them, the team that could be getting them next. Mac and Cube in the morning. Sticking with other football leagues, the National Arena League, Greg, has announced a new head coach for the Omaha Beef.
It's a great name.
Brandon really Negron is your head coach.
Have you gone down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, he left the Carolina Cobras to go to the Beef.
Where can we watch these things?
YouTube.
That's where it's available?
Tubo
TV?
Where did we watch it
Or
last year,
Tubi.
John? Do you remember?
Besides the Office.
That's what I'm saying. Who got that to us?
I think we
I
streamed
thought we
it.
watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, it
they
was
had their own
YouTube,
stream.
and then one of the teams they just straight streamed it.
Didn't they have a
and
guy
the
that
broadcast was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Didn't they have a guy that was like a dude, like a gigantic D tackle?
I
or
wouldn't
something?
call him a dude. I'd call him about 4 dudes in one. But yeah, he was like 420.
Yeah, and he was,
And then they
big.
put him on offense.
but he also kind of looked like
The best part was he would put his gloves on offense.
they
he
had
was
like a
gonna get the ball.
reptilian, but they had like a reptilian. I feel like they had a reptilian
Yeah, I think you're
jersey.
thinking of when Jared Lorenzen did it. That's not that guy.
Oh, maybe that's what
Was
it
it the
was.
dude that was wearing the Ray Lewis jersey or the obvious Baltimore
He had
Ravens
a-
jersey
he had
when
a-
it was?
He had a Ravens jersey
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
I
playing
vaguely remember
the
this
game.
though. I guess this is
It's so good.
just creating a little bit of a reminder, a bit of a buzz.
The ball was like an autographable ball, like the flat panel ball.
Not great. Not great.
It's not what you want. No. Troy running back Damian Taylor's going to head to the portal. 1,010 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns this season. Hate to see it for Troy because a good running back. Syracuse wide receiver Trevor Pena, Greg, is going to hit the portal.
Yeah.
84 catches, 941 yards, 9 touchdowns last
Solid
season.
player. Solid player.
It's going to be a good get for somebody in the portal. We know what receivers are, what they mean right now. There'll be a lot of people after him. So I wanted to get your thoughts, too, on something else that has taken place. You tell me what you think this means. According to Adam Schefter, there's been a lot of news coming out of Colorado the last couple of days. We told you a couple portal guys that they got. Shedeur Sanders will hold one last private workout Thursday in Boulder for a contingent of officials from the New York Giants. Some final intrigue leading into next week's draft in Green Bay. What does that mean to you?
It means he's doing whatever it takes to try to lock down that spot. But if you hadn't got it by now, it's about midnight. That's where it is right now.
Mike Tannenbaum, who we've had on the show, he quotes this tweet and says, when this happens so late in the process, either there's a big disagreement in their building on their evaluation or they're reacting to new information.
What new information might they be reacting to?
That I do not know.
Someone's got to help me with that. But what I do know is that I am not super bullish on Shedeur as a pro. I think he has a chance to be a fine player. I don't think he has a chance to be a star. I think he's got a ceiling that's a little bit limited. But I will be really curious to see if he is thrust into a good situation. How does he do with it? The Giants, however, not a great situation. Not great. Not great. At all.
Okay.
Do you think the Giants are a good situation?
I don't think overall that's your ideal landing spot, but maybe you just want to get into that market.
Well, I mean, getting in the market's good.
Not if your team's not.
Yeah, but
then it's a little bit more difficult.
Some of us are going pro in something other than sports.
Well, to go pro in sports to that market would be difficult if your team is not good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this. I want like a group answer here. If you are on board with this, not sure about this, like this, don't like this. 15 hours ago, Colorado Buffaloes football tweeted out, number 2, number 12, officially untouchable. There is a graphic with it also, so we know this is real news. It's real information. Emoji Buffalo. Witness Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter have their jersey numbers retired during the spring game on April 19th.
A little early, don't you think? Just saying, one of the best ever to ever play at Colorado. Travis Hunter, yes, agree, same page. And Shedeur might very well be. But I don't know. I don't know the history of Colorado football as well as others.
There are 4 other players that have had their numbers retired by Colorado.
Yes.
Number 11, Bobby Anderson. Number 24,
Freaking Bobby could get it.
Byron White.
Well, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Rashawn Salam.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
Cordell
obvious.
Stewart.
Nope.
The guy who wanted to go ski.
Oh, yes.
Bloom?
Jeremy Bloom.
No.
Damn.
His sister's more famous, but no. The last one,
Easy.
Joe Romig, number 67.
Yes. What position?
Joe Rogan?
I was saving them for last, but yeah.
Although back in the day, you could be tailback.
See, but it's a little easier to retire
67.
67.
Yeah.
People might want 12.
What was his name? Joe Romig?
Joe Romig.
Freaking Romig. He looks like a dude. Guard and linebacker, by the way. Hell yeah, they retired his number. You don't make him like that anymore.
Romig studied at the University of Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar and went on to earn a doctorate
That is
in
impressive.
astrogeophysics.
Because I know exactly what that is. What a cool story.
Love it.
And in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Did he not play in the NFL?
Don't need it. Don't want it.
Not
Don't
when
need
you're
it.
a Rhodes Scholar in astrogeophysics.
Don't want it. Don't need it.
Joe Romig was a dude. 5'10",
Dude.
199.
Just a dude sandwich.
Just wreck you.
5'10".
Here are your all-time Colorado passing leaders in school history. Ready? Number 10, John Hessler. Number 9, Mike Machete. By the way, like, if your name is Mike Moschetti, what is your touchdown celebration when you throw a touchdown pass?
Yeah.
It has to be. You pull it out of the sheath.
And if you played for the Buccaneers, it'd be even better. Like you're a
Golly,
pirate.
Can you imagine the NIL probabilities
I mean,
there?
there's just nothing you can't do.
Hey, Mike, this is ECU on the phone. We have a great NIL deal for you with a sword shop down the road.
There is nothing you can't do.
Number 8, Coy Detmer. Number 7, Tyler Hansen. Number 6, Cordell Stewart. Number 5, Shedeur Sanders. Number 4, Joel Klatt. Number 3, Cody Hawkins. Number 2,
Hawk Dog?
Steven Montez. Number 1, does anybody want to take a guess at who has the most passing yards in the history of Colorado Buffalo football? After I've already named Shedeur, Klatt, Cordell, Coy, and Machete.
I mean, I'm trying really hard to think of
anyone.
Some of the, I mean, Hawkins,
just a
Montez.
Guess. Just a name. Just give me a name. How about this? Give me a first name.
I'll go William.
Wrong.
Billy.
No. Anybody want to take another shot at just the first?
Devontae.
No.
Jacoy.
No.
Wait, is there only one name? Is it like?
Oh no, there's 2 names.
Polo?
But you're not going to guess the first name.
John Parker.
Negative. Other side of the country.
John David.
No. Sifo
Leofau?
Yes. 9,763 passing yards.
He's the number one passer of all time?
All time. Now, Shedeur does have single season record of 41-34 and single game of 5-10. Machete, by the way, went for 465 against San Jose State in 1999. He was slicing and dicing that day.
I mean,
he was
Leofau,
literally playing Fruit Ninja on that day.
Leofau, that is wild. Didn't see that one coming. Not gonna lie, did not see that one coming. I remember him.
I remember, but I would have never thrown that name out as the all-time passing leader
ever in a million years. I remember the name, but I would never in a million years have anticipated that being reality. Ever.
Leofau also has the single game record for touchdown passes in a game with 7. Now, Shedeur has single season touchdowns and career passing touchdowns with 64 and 37. So he's got some school records. But I don't know, man. I guess if it's kind of like the Hall of Fame, if you're going to do it, who cares when?
Yeah.
Is it too fast? It doesn't matter. We're going to retire it. Like, do it now. It's like putting Saban's name on the field. We were going to do it, guys. Why would we not do it now?
Because he won a lot of games.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you know you're going to retire these 2 numbers, go ahead and do it now. Who cares?
Like, I'm great with retiring Travis Hunter's number.
Well, Shedeur is the single season. He's the career passing touchdowns leader. He is the single season passing touchdown leader, single game passing yards leader, single season passing yards leader, 5th all-time career passing yards. Is that not enough, you don't think?
I don't know. It feels like a lot. I mean, they didn't win anything. They won nothing.
Heisman.
Travis did.
Who threw him the ball?
What did they win?
a Heisman Trophy and some games. Travis Hunter, by the way, is the single season all-time leader in receiving touchdowns.
Personally.
15.
Personally.
He is currently tied for 5th all-time in receiving touchdowns in a career, tied with Derek McCoy and Ray Caruth with 20.
That's fine. I do know this. I feel like if you're going to retire a person's number, that person needed to go and win something of significance at the school. Travis Hunter did. What did Shador win? He beat Baylor.
Yeah, Greg.
What are we? I'm not trying to be hateful here. I'm just being realistic.
Your career touchdown reception leaders in Colorado history: Nelson Spruce, Scotty McKnight, Paul Richardson, Shea Fields, and then Ray Caruth, Derek McCoy, Travis Hunter.
Scotty McKnight, good jet. Great jet.
Game Day Men's Health can help you get your jets back if you need them. If you're feeling on edge, if you're lacking sleep, lacking energy, low testosterone could be the reason. Game Day Men's Health wants to help you today. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com, sign up for a free consultation, free PSA test, free testosterone test, free consultation. They'll give you a baseline where your health is right now. They also have weight loss programs. They also have the new peptides that are in stock now. They can design those perfectly for you with what you need, how to help your ailments on a daily basis. Right now at Game Day Men's Health, a holistic approach to health and wellness. Minimal upfront cost for the programs they offer. All you do is go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now, sign up for the consultation, go in, see where your health is, and see what they can do for you. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Save 10% on anything they do when you mention Mac and Cube when you walk in the front door. Back with more after this. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate Brendan Sinone, Gordy Rush, Jake Rowe, Tyler Watts joining the show today. A lot of spring updates today. And I'll give you an update on Gusty Ghouls and the Gusty Ghouls group. If you're looking to get out of your home, get into a new home, call the Gusty Ghouls group today, or just better yet, Google Gusty Ghouls group and look at over 850 five-star Google reviews. Served over 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. So if you are in need of real estate here, Gusty can help. Call 205-542-1996 today or visit GustyGhoulsGroup.com and see exactly what they can do for you. Good job today, Greg.
You feel good about it?
I feel great about it.
Are you excited about the, are you going to go to Colorado to celebrate the?
I am not. I'll be in Arlington on Saturday as the St. Louis Battlehawks roll into town.
Yeah, but you have an early game.
I do have an early game, but I'll still won't be home until 9:45 Saturday night.
And it's not San Antonio.
You can get to Boulder. Post game.
Go right up.
Drive. You
Hey,
can't
I'm
miss
here,
that.
guys.
You can't miss that. It's too
Surely
important.
it'll be televised. Oh, yeah, we don't televise these anymore.
Oh, there he
It's
goes.
not their fault.
He's going in the hole. Don't go in the hole.
I need spring games televised. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to apologize for that.
It'd be nice.
Whose number are we retiring tomorrow? We'll discuss it. Three-man front coming up next.